No more winter goat. I'm back to the summer style goat on the little stump here.
Summer style, huh?
Summer style. Yeah, I'm
So
totally done. Totally done with winter. Screw winter.
screw it. Yeah. I don't blame you.
It is time to move on. Yeah, and I mean it's officially summer. Like you can actually do stuff outside now. We planted some vegetables and
Right?
um we had our first soccer game last night. Like it's definitely here. Took the
There you
tops
go.
off a couple times of the Jeep. I should specify of the Jeep.
You're already taking the tops off?
Yeah, not today. Kind of
Yeah.
rainy and cruddy today for sure.
Ready today.
Cruddy today. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It'll be nice to have, some nice weather card shows and uh just I don't know, just not cold, crappy.
I hear you on that.
I live in the wrong spot to not like cold and crappy. I got all the leaves blown out. That took me about 5 hours. We got like a compost section in the back of the yard, so I got them all back there. I have it's what is it called now? A Sun Joe? Do you know what a Sun Joe is?
No, what is a Sun Joe?
So it's like it's this big kind of funnel looking thing almost. Is the best way to describe it. That's on a stand,
All right.
and you put your leaves in it, and it runs through like there's a shredder inside, and it runs through it, and then all the little scraps of leaves fall out the bottom.
Okay.
Pretty amazing. Pretty
I do
amazing.
not have one of those.
Yeah. If you have a lot of leaves, it's a very handy thing for sure.
The village just comes around with a giant vacuum truck and takes them all.
You'd think we would have that service where I am, where it's all leaves and woods, but we do not.
Got to bring that up with the HOA.
Mm-hmm. But even so, I have all this landscaping. I got a fenced in yard. Like it would be a pain to try to get it all to the curb anyway.
Leaf blowers are fun.
I mean the front yard. Yeah, I have 5 leaf blowers now. I just bought another one at an estate sale a couple weeks ago.
Why?
Well, okay, so I have 2 that are electric. I actually like the electric better. I have one that is on an 18 volt, so battery doesn't last that long. But that's good for like cleaning off the deck or blowing out the garage or something like that, driveway, whatever. And then for Christmas, I got a electric that does the vac. So it sucks the leaves in, it shreds them, and then there's like a bag attachment.
Sure, yeah.
And then at this estate sale, I found a Toro, which is like one of my favorite brands of small engine type equipment. Am I saying that right? It's Toro, right? Yeah, Toro.
Toro, yeah. Toro.
And it's another vacuum one. But it's got a much bigger container. It's got like this huge container thing so basically it's made for kind of like what I do, where I blow them all into one spot and then you would suck them all up from that one spot. It's more designed for that than like going around and sucking them out as you go. Because blowing leaves is great unless you have like delicate plants you're trying to get it out of, or an area where you can't blow it to. Like if there's something in the way, like there's a couple spots in my yard where it's like fern city, so I have like 30 ferns. Right, where the hell are you going to put? You can't blow them through ferns. So it's like I blow them that far, then I either got to blow them around the ferns or around trees or because I have a lot of trees. And so it's like, okay, the suction just kind of makes sense. So I have 2 blower vacs, and then I have 2 just regular the high powered blowers, plug-in ones, and then I have the battery pack one.
Okay.
So I think we're set for a bit. But I found that Toro at that estate sale. It hadn't been used very much. I mean, it didn't look very worn, and it was $15, and I know those are like $250. So I was happy
Couldn't
with
pass
that.
it up.
Not really.
We have one leaf blower and 2 boys. So
Yep, I do most of the leaf blowing. Actually, Bree did quite a bit of it this past weekend, and I was kind of on fire duty, so I was gathering the sticks and burning in the pit and doing all that good stuff. So,
okay. We did a
which is
little
by
bit of
far.
that up north last weekend.
Did
Jenny
ya?
had brought a wagon full of sticks over to the fire pit, and we fired it up a little bit on Sunday.
So one nice thing about living in an area where there's actually trees, I never have to get firewood. It's always right there.
Yeah.
You know, we have some ash trees that are left, which obviously have to come down because they're all just diseased. And so we were kind of pointing them out in the yard and stuff, getting ready to have our tree guy come out. And I'm like, well, we went through a lot of firewood this winter, so that'll be good. I'll get, probably a 3/4 of a cord or maybe even a full cord of wood out of it. And one of them has a big knurl on it, that kind of knotted up
Yeah.
ball that can grow in a tree. And those are very, very valuable. So I told her when she was calling around to tree guys, ask them if anyone would take the knurl and trade, and you can send them some pics. Because we should get a couple $100 off for that. Those are like guys that do carving, well, people that do carving. That's a gem in the rough, and they'll pay big bucks to get it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Never
Because
heard
huh?
I never heard that before.
Yeah, because it makes the wood gets in all different kinds of grains and twists and things like that, and yeah. So I don't know. When we moved here, it was like this big. Now it's like this big.
Yeah.
Big around, but it's on an ash tree, so it needs to come down. So as long as like that doesn't have problems in it, it would be useful to someone. So, but yeah, we had our first soccer game last night. It went really well. It's my first time. I haven't coached in probably 20 years. Well, yeah, probably 20 years ish. And Luna's on the team, and we won 12-3, which was phenomenal.
Great.
Luna scored her first goal ever, so that was pretty amazing. We had both, because the field was conveniently located from parking. Both of the grandparents were. I have 2 immobile grandparents, or mobily challenged grandparents, Luna's grandparents, and they were both able to come and watch. So it was pretty cool. And the kids played great, and we had a good time, and we're looking forward to hopefully some more success. It's nice, and you feel this too, I'm sure, as a coach. It's nice to get that first win, because it's like you work so hard, and it is a little bit of a measure of do you know what you're doing kind of thing. And I mean, I don't want to talk like, because I'm sure most people aren't interested in this show, but strategy wise and stuff like that, like the other team just didn't know what to do with us. Let's just put it that way. I mean, we got to the point where we're like, should we make them pass 3 times before they shoot? Because we could see the score was going to get out of hand. So in a rec league, that should never happen, because it should be, they're not selected kids. They're just laid out onto it, given to a team. So it's like, did they even have a practice? You know what I mean? Like, there shouldn't have been that big of a difference between the teams, but there definitely was. Our team was way more prepared, and I focused on a lot of this is the first year where the goalies can punt. They always had to throw the ball before.
Okay.
So I spent a good amount of time in one of the practices with the kids doing traps, bringing the ball down, because I didn't want hands up. I didn't, you don't want them to just run out of the way and the ball keeps bouncing down the field, because they don't know what to do with it. They have never played where the ball's in the air, really,
Yeah.
So I said, as soon as I saw the rule differences from this age group from the previous age group, I'm like, yep, that's going to be the thing that's going to cause them problems. So, So we saw good results from that. They really, I'd say, remember our traps. Let's do as our traps. Here comes the ball, and they did a pretty good job with it.
No, I thought Luna was playing goalie.
She did. She played goalie for one quarter. It's a recreational league, so you got to get all the kids in, and
Yeah.
and in a game like that, when you're already up like 6 goals by half, that's when you put in like whoever wants to play at goal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It's not like a goal is going to change the game. So, uh, our two goal we kind of officially have 2 goalies on the team. They played the first and second quarter, and then third quarter was like, does anybody want to play goalie? Oh, I do. Okay, great. Get in there. Do you know how to do it? Nope. All right. Well, I'll kind of yell stuff at you. Well, because they don't know, like, you can walk up to the line, and there's some nuances to it if you've never played it before.
Yeah. It sounds like you had a good start.
Yeah, and it's good for those goalies too to get some field time, because the odds of them just playing goalie their whole career is probably not that high unless they're really good at it. So,
Right.
and it was the first game. We really wanted to kind of try some different stuff, put some people in some different positions, see what they can do. And when you have all these kids that I've never met before, you have like 5 or 6 practices, and then boom, you're in it. It's like, wow, you really don't get to see that much.
Right.
I mean, I had some general idea. We did do a skills clinic. Some of the high school players and the coach ran a skills clinic for us. So that was kind of nice, because I could actually just kind of watch them do stuff. And, they had some veteran type players to kind of do some skill stuff with. So, yeah, anyway, so it's going to be good. I'm excited about it. And then by the end of the season, I'm going to be like, that was fun. I'm glad it's done. That's a good chunk of work, and it's, you got to put in your whole day, and then you got to get there for that. And then we have to do a picture time. And then we've got to do each week you got to have someone bring the snack, and you got to, like, there's just all the, like, I don't really want anything to do with any of that. I just want to coach the kids,
Right.
but you can't do that. You have to, all our games are in an app, which is kind of nice. So the whole team is in there, the roster's in there. You can credit the goals to which players scored the goals, post the scores so that everybody knows wins, losses, scores, and like that through the season. And there's a messaging service and stuff on there, so which is great. I mean, it's nice to have this new modern stuff, but it's like, well, now I got to do that too. Now I got to put that stuff in there. So
Yeah.
anyway, we're on a good track, and now that the season started, now it's kind of like, okay, well, that the fluffy stuff is sort of done for the most part, except a few minor things, and then we have a tournament we gotta be at for an entire weekend too. But outside of that, it's basically just Tuesdays and Thursdays we play and go get ice cream after. So
There you go.
yeah. So when do you start football? It's got to be July,
Well,
end of July, middle of July.
yeah, practices start in July with what we call contact week. And then camp fully starts the beginning of August.
Okay.
Yeah. But there's already meetings going on. There's a meeting sometime next week I gotta already go to, and that'll start to pick up. We're already in the weight room every morning, stuff like that.
Jeez. Yeah,
Yeah.
football gets so serious, It's interesting.
High school's a different level too. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean, even when I played, like, high school soccer for me was not, I guess that's the thing. Like, if you play football, it's high school football, right? That's your option for the year for playing. Whereas
yeah,
I played club soccer. I played indoor, and then I played on a summer club team and all that. So it was like, by the time I was playing my high school season, I'm like, this is just like practice for me, because
right.
that's not what you really get measured by. Like, if you're going to get recruited or something like that,
Yeah,
again, you can't pick who's on your high school team, but my
right.
travel team and stuff, that was all tryouts, and you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But football's really not like that. So yeah, I guess you're kind of like, okay, high school or bust, because where else are you
yeah,
going to play?
Well, and you got to remember too that we went to the state semifinals last year. We were
Yeah.
2 games away from a state championship. So
Yeah.
the focus this year isn't just field a good team. It's what
Right.
are the little things we have to do to get those last 2 games.
Yep. Yeah. For sure. I mean, probably
Yeah.
it's great to have a season like that, but then it's like, oh boy, we can. If you flub it a bit this year, it's really hard to give it back, right? You
Yeah.
gotta kind of stay up there. It's funny. I was thinking about this with the Packers because the younger people, of course, don't remember this, but I remember the crappy seasons in the '80s. I mean, they were terrible.
Mm-hmm.
You could walk up to the ticket office on Sunday morning and buy a ticket to a game. That's how bad it was. And now it's like, okay, they won the division. Yeah, but they should have beat these other 3 teams and they should be 10-3, and it's like they won the division. Like, dude, it is a professional league where all the players are at a high level. You're not going to win every game, it's
Right.
so yeah, there's just the demand or the expectations are just almost impossible to meet if you've already shown you have a good team, if you've got
Yeah.
something to work
For
with.
sure.
So, but that's kind of what you want too, right? You don't want anybody saying, oh, they stink, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what they always do. You don't want to be the Brewers or anything.
Oh, 2 extra innings wins in a row. It's getting kind of exciting.
You know what they should try to do is like just win a game during the regular game.
The regular 9 innings, yeah.
Yeah, that'd probably help.
That'd probably be easier. But Yelich with a grand slam to win it last night, and then we had an RBI.
Cubs had a walk-off last night too.
Did they?
11th inning, yeah.
Oh, so they went extra innings too?
Yeah, it wasn't a home run. I mean, it's a walk-off, but it was a walk-off single or double or something. But yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
It's amazing that a game can even go to 11 innings the way they have it like set up now so that it doesn't go long.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
just, it feels like it should almost never happen, but I can't see a game really going past like 13 or so at this point with the way it's with the man on second stuff and all that. Like there's no way.
Well, that was the point, right? That
right.
You don't have these 22 inning games where position players are pitching and stuff like that.
I think the theory behind it was next hit wins, right? Because if you got a guy on second and you get a hit, like a clean hit, a hit that actually goes out to the outfield, your guy on second should be able to make it in. You're going to put somebody there who knows how to run. So
yeah.
Yeah,
and I think it's been successful at that.
Yeah, I know. All that stuff is always going to bother purists. I think for me, like if other sports do those kinds of changes, I don't care as much. But baseball is it's a stat machine. Right. I mean, that's what's really it's been built on. That's what people get score sheets and they score the game, while they're watching the game,
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this guy scored a run, but did he really? He didn't even hit the ball and he's on second. Like that shouldn't count. And I think they score it differently too, but I don't stay up on that myself, but that's the one part I don't like about that. It's like, okay, well, all these other people in history had to like actually get on base in the 10th inning to score, not, start out there. But, I get what they're trying to do. They're trying to speed the game up a little bit. I do like the pitch clock. I always thought that was something that should have been around. I think the games are moving a little better, which ultimately, when we start getting to like playoffs and World Series, there's just so much stuff that can drag a game on and on and on. Right. A constant manager meetings to the mound, and shortstop comes in and has a meeting with the pitcher, and like, hey, come on, you gotta keep it because it is still just a game and a form of entertainment.
5-6 throws over to first.
Yeah. Pick up the bag, do the little thing, and then drop it, and then pick up the bag again, do the thing, and drop. Like, dude, you just did that. Come on, pick a pitch and let's, and I'm sure they're trying to, rest the arm a little bit between, if they're on their 80th pitch or whatever to try. But yeah, I like something that moves it'll in the clock. It's not going to change any of the statistics, right? You're still going to throw the ball. You're still got to hit the ball. But the man on second thing, that one's tough for me because it's kind of like, giving the team a free second base is pretty valuable, I think.
Yeah, I think it is as well.
Second base with no outs. I mean, at a professional level, you should have a pretty good amount of times where you're getting that guy in.
Your odds are dramatically increased. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, even a couple of bunts, to move them down, stuff like that you should be able to manufacture pretty well out of that.
Right.
So, but I digress. That's the rules. Have you been watching any of the basketball playoffs since we're
No, I really haven't. Once the Bucks were knocked out, I haven't watched a single minute of it, to be honest with you.
I watched some highlights. That Tyrese Halliburton shot at the end of the game was pretty amazing.
That explains why I sold his cards today.
To tie the game. Yeah, his stuff sells pretty well. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, he's a good seller right now. Karl Anthony Towns had a couple of big plays. Sure. But Halliburton, they were down by like something crazy, like 16 points with a minute and a half to go, and they came back. And he kind of goes into the paint. They were down by 2. He kind of goes into the paint, sort of gets turned around, comes back, takes a shot. Looks like a 3. Later we find out his toe was on the line. That's why it went into overtime. But shoots the ball. It hits that, that knob right on the back of the rim, that where it's attached to the backboard. And it just goes straight up in the air, like 20 feet, I swear to God. Like it wasn't even in camera. And it just, and it went straight up and then just right through.
Straight down into the hoop.
Straight down, right. You didn't never even touch the rim, right through the net. It was like, man, when you're a little kid and you drop that 3-2-1 play, in your front yard and you're shooting the ball, like it couldn't turn out better than that. That was it right there. Other than the fact that it wasn't the 3. If it was the 3, it would have been great because it would have been the game winner. That would have topped it. But they ended up winning the game. So I guess in the end you kind of go, okay, well, that could have won it. It didn't, but at least we still won the game. But yeah, it's a bunch of teams I'm not really interested in. There's no there's no LeBron, there's no Steph Curry, there's no, those kinds of more big name vet type stuff.
Yeah.
I guess Shai Gilgeous and even Tyrese Halliburton at this point, they're pretty much vets. I think Halliburton was a draft in 2021, 2021, 22, something like that. I think it was the same year as Zion. I pulled a silver prism rookie of his back in the day out of a blaster box.
Yeah, it was a Crown Royal die cut that moved for him today.
Crown Royal die cut. I love Crown Royal. Yeah, I think there's been some interesting series. We'll have to see kind of when it gets to the finals if that moves anything. But my sales have been slow because I just don't do that much basketball.
Right, same here.
And so this is kind of the time to just sort of, for me, it's funny because I read in the Discord and we got a couple posting in there, wow, this was the best week I ever had. And I'm like, you saw a lot of basketball, don't you? Or hockey. I mean, hockey right now is pretty hot too because, they're in their playoffs run and stuff, or cup. I don't know. I don't watch any hockey, but yeah, I think it's okay to have those kind of slow times. I don't think you have to be the big dog in every sport. Right. It's probably not even possible. Maybe eventually. I try to, expand out in those different areas as I grow by little bits, but I've talked about this in the past, and I just wanted to bring this up because I know a lot of people are saying, "Oh, it's really slow." and this is actually my worst month of the year every year. I looked at the last 2 years and it was this month, not by a ton. It's a little bit less than what I do in November. November is my second worst month every year. And I think a lot of that is just sort of prepping for the holiday season and that kind of thing. But I just kind of wanted to stress that just because you're having a slow sales time doesn't mean you can't be productive as a business. You know, that's your
Sure.
time to look at what to expand on, you know, improve on some inventory things, you know, look at maybe other avenues to sell on. I know we just had somebody again in the Discord talking quite a bit about doing Facebook sales, you know, doing bulk deals and that kind of thing. Moving some stuff that maybe sits is more likely to sit while you have good sales, because you're like, well, I don't need to sell the bulk. I'm doing good with the singles, you know. I'll just leave those 4-row boxes there for a while and I'll deal with it later. You know, like
Yeah.
this time kind of allows you to, you know, maybe take care of some of that stuff. Or you know, for me, I've been working on the skewing. I have I'm finishing up the soccer. I got this stack of soccer here to assign some skews to, not a lot left. And then my entire 2 cabinets are all bagged, which will be, oh my gosh, that will be amazing.
Yeah, you've
I
been
feel
working
like
on
I've
that
been,
for a while.
yeah, about a year. Let's see, almost a year and a half. Almost a year and a half, because I started doing bags on December 7th of 2023.
Yep, that sounds right.
So almost a year and a half. But I didn't want to just sit and take a whole week where I'm not doing anything else and just putting stuff in bags. You know, that you have to kind of fit that in with other things you need to do, you know. But this is kind of the right time to do that. I have a little bit of availability to just sit down with a couple stacks, assign SKU numbers to them, and be done with it. I had a whole bunch of bags that were really slim too that I had sold a lot of cards out of, so I got a lot of that stuff consolidated and back in the drawer too. Which
Yeah.
none of that's super fun work, but it's certainly makes things easier once it's done, for sure.
Yeah, I'm down to about 2.5 rows of unskewed cards, and it's low enough where there are days I'm like, maybe I just want to, repack all that stuff, but I don't. I just keep letting it sell down as it is. It's not
Yeah.
really hurting anything the way it is right now. Um,
It's just too time consuming. You have to remember, I had 11 drawers like that.
yeah,
11 4 rows, like, what is that, 4 feet deep? You know, it was probably 50,000 cards, you know,
right.
that I didn't have bagged up at all. It was all listed, it just wasn't. So, you know, it became a priority in a hurry because it started to get to be a lot to dig. And it's my own fault. I should have had a better system starting out, but you know, hindsight. And you never really know how big you're going to get until you kind of get big.
That is true.
But it feels super good. If I can get that done by the end of this week, I would be over the moon. That would be a big check mark on my 2-year to-do list. So those of you who maybe are in the same boat, you know, just keep going. You got to just keep plugging at it. And like Charlie said, I sold quite a few out of the drawers too. That definitely helped, you know. But at some point, that does make sense to just grab a stack and get them in a bag and be done with it.
Right.
You know, to reduce your pick time. There's a lot of time now too. And now Luna just had her last day of school. Well, I guess technically it's tomorrow, but tomorrow's like party day and blah blah blah. But she wants to do, you know, a little bit more help with me too, and I'm like, well, I can't tell her, oh, it's in the third row of the soccer. It's, you know, you got to go about 3/4 of the way down.
Yeah.
Pull out Hugo Loris, and she's gonna be like, how do I spell that? What is that? You
Yeah.
know. It's a lot easier, and even sometimes down here, because she does school at home. When she's down here, she likes to do some work in my pick chair. So I have like a little portable desk, and she'll sit there and work on her math and stuff. And there's sometimes where I'm like, oh crap, I need this card. I'm like, Luna, can you grab this out of, you know, bag 311 bag number 6. Sure. And, she'll get the card out. So I've really put a more of a focus on it just because at some point I want to be the guy picking the cards all the time.
Right.
I'd like to get it to a point where I can have other people do those tasks. So if you're going to do that, you can't just say, oh, well, I don't need it. It's all in my head. Well, yeah, but now you got to try to put it in somebody else's head, and that's a big task.
Right.
Pretty much an impossible task.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, I agree. That's why, both my boys are starting to help with the operation now. My older son Creed's been doing my packing and shipping now for, a good month or so here. He's helped out with that. And now my younger son, Caleb, is starting to help with the listing portion of it. It kind of just started yesterday. I walked him through end to end from taking the pictures to uploading, the CDP file to eBay. So he can kind of get a feel for that. And then today he focused on just taking photos for me. Did a whole bag full of Kakawau cards, Disney 100 All-Stars, and transferred all the images to the laptop for me. So then when I came over, I just had to upload them in the CDP.
that's nice. Did you show him how to use the goat pen shooting box and all that good stuff?
That's what he uses. Yep. That's what he's using because you got the scanner right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I gotta start probably pulling out some of these boxes. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow now that I got most of the SKU stuff done. I'll finish the soccer and then I'll do that. But I really need to get some more non-sport stuff out to scan because I can't do any more sports right now. I'm maxed out.
Yeah.
And we only got 3 days to go, so I don't want to go over the limit in the last couple days. Once it reloads, technically, and this is something I can tell all of you, you can technically go over 60,000 in the month, but you have to make sure that your relistings don't put you over 60,000. So I could go up to probably like 61 or 62,000 pretty safely in the beginning of the month and then just sit on it. Because as it sells down, not all those 60,000 would relist and I should be fine. But you're taking a little bit of a risk that way because if you don't sell anything, odds are pretty slim. I won't sell anything, but if you didn't, you'd be 2,000 over the limit by the end of the month when they relist, and then you would, incur some fees. But I don't see that being a problem as long as I got non-sport stuff to work with. I have a lot of Chrome and stuff like that. This kind of stuff, cracked ice, Marvel stuff and that kind of thing. Team 7. Sleepy from Snow White. Casper, I picked up some Casper at the show. We're going to talk about the Green Bay show, by the way. I know I saw somebody asked about it. So I've got that. I just don't know how much scan non-sport. Have you tried to do tall boy cards?
No, not really. I have a few old Bowman cards that are the taller ones. And I don't even like doing those because they're, odd size. Mm-hmm. So I definitely haven't tried doing like tall boys now.
I'm just wondering how that works with Card Dealer Pro. So maybe I'll try that out tomorrow and I can let everybody know. Because I have a ton of those wide vision Star Wars cards, which are definitely, I don't know how it's going to show up as an image on eBay. It might look weird.
I don't think it will.
But I guess if I take a picture, I'm going to run into the same thing, right? Actually, it would probably be worse because it'll have bigger margins because you'll have to shoot further out,
right,
to fit it in. So yeah, I guess I'm going to run some through the scanner and see how it goes. But they're definitely scannable. I mean, they're just photographs. There's really nothing on them. They're not shiny or anything. So, but I'd love to get some of that stuff listed and placed in the drawer, and I can use up quite a few of my scans doing that.
Yeah.
Since I don't have room for sports, I just I haven't been selling a ton the past probably week or so. It's been slower. So,
Okay.
normally by the time I get the scanner, okay, well, I've sold a couple thousand cards, since the scanner was gone, and boom, I'll just scan, finish all my scans and I'll be right back up there.
Hmm.
And then, I just do some Chrome stuff, photo stuff every day, and it basically just replaces what I sold that day. That's kind of how I just keep the pace. But yeah, it's just been a bit slower with the sales.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have any problems at all with Tall Boys. I think it'll scan great, and then it'll look fine on eBay as well. Just your image will be smaller because it's
Right.
a bigger picture in that same box, right?
Yeah, and you have to rotate them all. That's one thing that sucks. They're called wide vision because the pictures are all wide.
Yeah,
So it's like you got to scan everything in, and then hopefully it'll auto turn most of them. But you've done it enough, you realize it doesn't.
yeah.
Sometimes they're upside down, so sometimes they
There's
just show
always
up
a
on the
few,
side.
yeah.
Yeah, so it'll be a little bit of work that way, but I'd be happy to get those because they don't go in a box real well, because they're taller. Um, they they don't fit in the drawers that well for the bags and stuff. So they were kind of tossed in for free with other stuff that I bought. So that's why I have them. But I mean, there should be some market to it, you know. And then I have Star Wars Pogs for days. I have
There you go.
a couple of big stacks of those, but that's going to be all non-scan stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at with the non-sport. I got all the non-sport that I picked up this past weekend already listed, except for a couple of like Chrome promo stuff that I didn't scan, wouldn't scan.
Yeah.
I'm doing more scans now of like Chrome base cards, by the way. I don't think I told you that.
No, you didn't.
Yeah. So if I have, like just I don't know, let's see.
Like this, like first Bowman stuff like
Just
this?
like, yeah, like a Topps Finest base card or something. Yeah, or a first Bowman or a Stadium Club Chrome or whatever. Yeah, I've just been pretty much scanning them in now
Okay.
because they're just base,
Yeah.
Um, I've gotten a lot more of them to come out okay as I scan them. So I don't know if like CDP has kind of improved that way, but uh depending on the colors on the side, sometimes you get that short version of it, where it likes to
Yeah.
chop the sides off. Um, but even at that, kind of what I've done for my practice now is, let's say I pick out 40 cards for my batch. I scan them in, let's say 10 cards, that are chrome or whatever, have black edges or something, don't go through. I pull those 10 out, I put them aside, list the 30 cards, then those 10 just go back into the next batch. And you'd be surprised how many times when you scan it back in, it comes out fine.
Hmm.
So I've been doing that now. So, because again, my business is at a point where I don't have to constantly just push list, like when you're building. So I'm like, let's just kind of keep running batches through until we get what we want. And, then I don't have to do as much of the photography and the hand listing, and it's kind of nice. I like it.
Sure.
And when it's a Topps Chrome base card, I don't see why you have to do a photograph of something like that. I think the scan is okay as long as it shows up,
Yeah.
correctly.
Yeah, I don't know. I tried it for a while and I wasn't happy with it, so I went back to hand photographing those. Anything shiny, anything metal.
Yeah,
Um,
I definitely refractors. I would never put that through the machine. You're never going to get the correct lighting from that.
yeah.
But like a base like this, you would never want to. You never want to scan that. Here's a refractors, right? I mean, you need that light to go in there, but a base Chrome card, I mean, as long as it doesn't show up all streaky and dirty or something, I don't know that I need to take the extra time and do the photo. So that's where I'm at on those. But there are plenty of cards that just don't show up well either. So you have to
Right.
um, kind of have to take it as it comes.
Yeah,
I
there's
I just
cards
have
you
so
would
much to
think would be
list.
fine to scan, and then they just don't come through for whatever
Yeah,
reason.
there was a few, and I mean even non-chrome ones too, right? So there was a few that I had scanned through maybe 3 or 4 batches, and then I'm like, nope, now it just goes into my photo
Yep.
pile because I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not going to happen. But there was a lot of them that I was like, it was just 2 or 3 times I ran them through, and they would come up. I'll tell you why I started doing it. Let me see if I have any here. These are the ones I gave up on, so I set them aside. But I have all these Star Wars Evolution cards, which are foil.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm like, I don't want to take pictures of all these. They're base cards. They'll sell, but they're not big time or anything.
Yeah.
There's the Sarlacc pit, the big sand butthole. Um, here's Ponda Baba,
Mm-hmm.
another one-armed character in Star Wars. So I was like, screw it. I'm just gonna scan them, and I'm like, man, they don't come out too bad. And every batch I would do, I would have 5 or 6 or 7, somewhere around there, not turn out. It would chop off the sides, or it would just, it didn't look good. It would be really dark or something.
Right.
And that's when I was like, all right, well, I'll just toss them aside and I'll try them again. And yeah, I was like, man, now they all work. Like, what the hell? You'd think it would be more consistent. So that kind of opened my eyes. I was like, yeah, I could probably scan a lot more of this and then not have to really deal with it. So
Sure.
because I sell so much of that base stuff, I have somebody come in and buy 20 Barry Sanders cards, and it's a bunch of like low end chrome stuff. Like I would never do it with Skybox Metal, because Skybox Metal almost has like a texture look to it,
Yeah.
and I don't think the scan would come out as good. Um, so I still have limitations on some base sets that I don't want to scan, but like there's so many of them that would just sell as a scan, and I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like a lot of them don't give a true representation of how that card looks in your hand. So that still bothers me.
Yeah, you might get over that eventually. We'll see.
Eventually.
I I don't know. I feel like, okay, if let's say it's a Cal Ripken Jr. base Topps Chrome card I sell for $1.99. It's like, how much time and effort do I really want to put into this?
Yeah.
People know who Cal Ripken Jr. is. They probably know that card. They know what Topps Chrome base cards look like. Like, I mean, if it comes out somewhat like a stock photo, who cares? It's not a special card, you know?
Sure.
So you just kind of have to decide where your limit is on that one. But now, like I said, that I can just rescan stuff, that encourages me even more, because I'm like, well, I don't, because that was part of the reason I didn't like doing it. I'm like, well, half of these won't scan, so I'll have to do them by picture anyway. Why bother? But I'm definitely learning now that that's not really the case. You can rescan everything and get totally different results.
Right.
One time I'll have it where I'll scan them, and the front picture shows it upside down. The next time I'll scan it and shows it right side up, and I'm like, what determined? How did that change?
Yeah.
So I know what it looks for. When it has like certain, almost all cards have some kind of banner to them, right? You've got a banner with the team name or the set or the player's name or whatever.
Right.
And I think that's what the machine is looking at, going, oh, well, there's a banner. Banners should be at the top, right? The card goes this way. But then, yeah, the next time it's like, no, it shows up the way that I intended it to be scanned. So I think it's more random than we probably realize. Just after
Yeah.
trying to, I've never really tried to scan the same batch like 10 times just to see what I get from all 10 results. But now that I've been pulling some out and rescanning, and I'm like, wait, this is totally different than it was the last time. I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
I expected
Yeah.
the consistency of the scanner. And we have a top of the line scanner, by the way, for those who don't know. We've got the FI 8170. Can't do much better than that. So it's definitely not the scanner. It's just kind of how the cards come out, when you get them in there.
Yeah, and early on, if I scanned a card and it didn't come out right, I would just throw it back in the scanning pile and send it through again. And
Mhm.
more often than not, cards would come through fine the second time. But after a while, you kind of get a feel for, okay, this is a black border card, and 90%
Right.
of the time it doesn't like them. So then
Yep.
I just stop scanning those, or different contrasts in cards can set it off too. And you start to get an eye for that to know that, oh, yeah, even though this is a paper card, that's going to have trouble determining card versus, edges and backgrounds and stuff.
But even black border, it's not that straightforward because I scanned a ton of those bandstand cards. Those are all black border,
Yeah.
and I had hardly any problems with any of them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So
Yeah, I think it's more when there's a lot of dark contrasts in the background of the image itself.
mhm.
And then it says, okay, you've got a picture here and you've got a dark border around it behind the card. Where does it start and where does it end?
Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense to me. I can see why, the machine will get confused by that, but it's not it's not like, oh, this has a black. Do you remember the I'm trying to think of what the set was. But they did like it was Starline maybe, I don't know. But they did all these like Hall of Fame baseball players, right? Like a classic collection type of thing, and they're basically all straight black and then just a picture of the player on it. Cooper's it's not a Cooperstown thing. Anyway, I just scanned a Babe Ruth one in. I'm like, there's no way in hell this would scan. Came out perfect first time I sent it through.
Yeah.
And it's got a black border. It's got a black border, and then there's like a little white pinstripe inside the border, and then it's like the picture of the player and then the name. And I'm like, the scanners can get so screwed up over this with the white pinstripe and then the black border, but it didn't. It came out perfect. Like, so I don't know. It's interesting.
This one the other day that didn't want to scan.
Yeah. It kept chopping the sides, right? Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what it likes to do. It just likes to remove those side borders.
I think it's Troy's hair that threw it on.
Could be. Could be. But Conlon collection. Thanks. Boomslang pulled it out. The Conlon collection was that Babe Ruth card. So I don't know. I'm changing my thoughts a little bit on the scanner and the scanning process and trying. You have to remember too, like if my store is full and I can't scan sports, I got to figure out something to do with the scanner.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, all right, I gotta either that or reduce my subscription for the scanner. So I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm going to try to get a lot of this non-sport stuff knocked out, and I'll just do these foil ones.
Right.
Because I have a lot of chrome ones, from Star Wars, stuff that I can't scan for sure. So I was like, I'll take a chance on these and try them. And I was like, man, these are coming out pretty good. Sold a few of them already. I mean,
I think the message there is it's usually worth a try before you just write off something as not scannable.
Yeah, and I look at all my images now before I throw them into Card Dealer Pro. I used to just scan everything and then throw it right into Card Dealer Pro and then just like delete stuff in there if I didn't like it or whatever. But that uses a scan. So
right.
Now I go into my folder and I get everything turned around ahead of time and I delete out the ones that I don't like and blah blah blah. So by the time I get to Card Dealer Pro, it's just ready to go. It's a batch that works. So that's made it a little bit easier and quicker, I think, too, doing it that way. A little bit on the cost savings.
Yeah.
I've listed cards with the sides chopped off and I've sold a ton of them. So I mean, you can even go that far with it and people don't care because they know what the card looks like. If it's a modern card, I would never do that with like a vintage where you have to see the corners and the edges and stuff like that. But on a base Barry Sanders 90 Fleer card, who cares? They know what the card looks like.
I couldn't bring myself to do that, but on a base $1.99 modern card, sometimes I'll list it if I don't have much of a border around it. to clearly show the corners. If it's slightly misaligned and I've got the image right to the edge of the card, it's
Yeah.
a $1.99 card. I'll let that slide sometimes. But I don't think I could bring myself to do it if it was chopped off.
Yeah, it was just it was kind of more of an experiment than anything else. Like I don't do that regularly, but I was like,
Yeah.
what, screw it. I'm gonna list this card and see if it sells. And you'd be surprised. Most of them have sold. So
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at all the ratty cards that sell too.
yeah. Yeah, and you can see what those look like, and they still sell. So I did have one, since we're talking about this, I did have one customer messaged me and said, are the sides cut off on this card? And I'm like, no, I said, when they went through my scanner, it just didn't pick up the border correctly. And he's like, oh, okay. And then he bought the card. So it didn't really, turn the buyer off. Now, do I want to regularly answer questions like that? And would somebody look at it and not ask a question? They'd just be like, oh, what is that? I'm moving on. Yes. So I wouldn't want to do that on a regular basis, but like I said, sometimes it's just fun to try stuff and see if what goes through and what doesn't.
Sure.
And what convinced me of that was like kind of what you said earlier. Early on, when I started doing this, I was buying vintage, like really, really rough stuff, like stuff that went through a laundry machine, right? It's creased. You can barely see the image of the player. And, a card that in, let's say, excellent condition would sell for $10, I'd put it out there for $2 or $3. Like, all right, I got a really rough one. I'll throw it out there. No one's going to buy it. I sold all of that stuff, all of it, every single one, so, and I get them now. Miscut cards, I love those. I specifically look for those. You have to price it right. If it's a $10 card and excellent, you can't ask $10 for one that looks like it's been wrote over, so you have to, do everything appropriately for what you have. But there's buyers for all that stuff,
Yeah.
I know of a couple collectors that collect PSA vintage and they only collect PSA ones. They want the stuff that has a story that's, seen a life.
Right.
Been in some kid's wallet for 10 years, Chester Copperpot, right? In Chester Copperpot's wallet.
Goonies.
Lou Gehrig? Who's Lou Gehrig? I like stuff like that. I think that's cool. So yeah, something for everyone. And I think you got to carve out your little niches. And, maybe one of mine is selling chopped off scanned cards. Nobody else is doing that. I've done maybe, I don't know, 20, 30 cards that way. Just left them in. And I was like, I think someone will buy it anyway. And they have, in a lot of cases. But it's funny when I see an order come in and it has actually I think I might have just got an order earlier today. It was a George Brett card that I had that was chopped off. I sold in an order with some other stuff. But every time it would come through, I was like, you bought that card and the edges are chopped off. Now you have to take this with a grain of salt too. You have to remember too, I have over 50% returning customers, on a regular basis. So most of those orders were somebody who'd already bought cards from me. So they're like, I know he's not selling a half chopped card and selling it as near mint condition. I've gotten lots of cards from him and they look great, but yeah, if you're a brand new seller and you're going to sell chopped up images, for your listing, I would say absolutely not. That's probably a bad idea. Especially if the card does have an issue on the corners of the edges. You really don't want those parts chopped off. And then you say, oh, this thing's near mint. You send it to them with, a folded over corner or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, you have to do some common sense with it. But I don't know. It was kind of a fun experiment and got some sales. And you know what? It took me almost zero effort to do it. And that's what I like about it. Trying to cut down that amount of time I got to spend on it.
That's your favorite amount of effort.
It should be for everyone. You should never want to waste your effort. I mean, if you really don't have that much to do, you probably need to reevaluate your position in life. Find some more things worthwhile.
Right.
But yeah, so so yeah, it's just been a lot of organization. I got a couple boxes out of here. You know, I always have boxes, to list type of stuff. I've got that out and into the shredder and just trying to reorganize. But I have so much to list. Now, since we might as well get into this. We're 55 minutes in. Do we want to go back to the chat, or do we want to talk about topics? We were going to talk about Green Bay show and Goat show.
Topics. Let's go to the chat.
Green Bay show and the Goat show, basically. Pretty slim on the topics, but
yeah, let's jump in the chat for a bit.
Okay. You wanna run it? Because it stinks doing it on here.
Sure. Are you on your
if
phone?
You don't mind. Yes. I have to get that. I did get a I'm trying to think of the word. The data link cable to go directly to my pod, my mesh pod. I have it coming, but I didn't get it yet. So
okay.
So I'll be back on the laptop.
I just want to note this for the record. Adam's like, let's have the one-handed guy do the mouse work.
Fine, don't then. I just asked. You can say no.
I got
Jeez,
it.
You sound like my kid. Yeah, now I got to take out the garbage. I'm like, you don't have to. I just asked if you would.
No, don't
stand
worry.
up and say no.
I got my ice pack here. I'll be okay. I got my McLaren Jack here to give me some medicine. So
it's funny that in today's day and age, the biggest old woman surgery that exists is carpal tunnel. Long ago were the days of bad knees and backs and all, from doing all the farm work and all that. Now we just type too much and our little hands hurt and we got to have surgery on them.
Well, he also, as I was in my pre-op appointment when we were making plans for this, I said, I also have like an impingement in the muscle where my forearm meets my elbow. And he's like, oh yeah, you got tennis elbow. He goes, you know what we call that for 40 and 50-year-olds in the business? A badge of honor. Because it happens so often.
Yeah. Yeah, doom and gloom. I've been super fortunate. I have no problems with wrists, fingers, hands, knees. I have issues with my feet from time to time with stuff. I think some of that is just more weight related and that kind of thing, but long periods of time standing and stuff. But yeah, I've been very fortunate. I do have my back gets sore. But again, I think some of that is weight and stuff too.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. That's at least that's what my doctor would tell you.
Those flat feet get even flatter.
Yeah, pretty well. You just you take the bit of arch you got and you're just squashing it down. Every time you step and since I work from home, I don't generally wear shoes like ever. So I'm just walking around bare feet. I work in a basement, so it's a concrete floor. It's carpeted in my office, but it's just carpet on top of concrete. So it's probably not the best that way for the feet on a regular basis. Now I do sit most of the time, but still. Anyway.
I hear you.
I see Barton is here. He says, good evening. Good evening to you as well. Thanks for joining us. Who else we got? How was the Green Bay card show? Hey, look at that. He brought us to our topic all on his own.
Yeah.
Brad, it was a great show. I think for Charlie and I, it was probably one of our best sales shows we've ever had.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because I put zero prep into any of it. I grabbed a few boxes and left in the morning. But the kids packs were pretty popular. The show had a good turnout. There was a lot of vendors, more than I'd seen. I mean, they were in spots in the hallway I haven't seen them before. There was good stuff for sale, lots of stuff moving. Tons of stuff that had nothing to do with cards.
Yeah, that is true.
So I said, this is kind of turning into a like craft show or bazaar or something like that, because there was a lot of people selling like Pokemon art stuff, necklaces and diamond paintings and keychains and just all kinds of stickers, all kinds of stuff like that versus just cards. A lot of Pokemon presents. It just seems to be getting bigger and bigger at every show. It's definitely grown with the goat show too. And not that that's a bad thing. I'm just saying this is what we saw. Uh, I think it's almost getting to the point where Pokemon kind of needs its own shows and nobody's wants to run any. It's really weird. I know Madison now has split up their regular Sheridan show. They're doing 2 days. They got a sports show and then a Pokemon show on the Sunday. I could see a real need around here for like a straight Pokemon or gaming show, TCG show, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
So we'll see if it goes that far. I don't know that that's something we would want to do. It's not really my focus in what I do in my business. I'll do a little Pokemon, but it's not the biggest thing. I also think it's just kind of peak hype right now. You know, I mean,
it definitely is.
I think it'll draw back some. I talked to some of the dealers this past weekend, and they said, yeah, Pokemon dealers, that is. A couple of them said, yeah, it's not as much fun anymore. Like I could get a box for $50 and then sell some $1 cards, and they're like, now everything is just 6, 7, 10 times that,
Yeah.
And if you're trying to stay in a low end or a little bit more affordable hobby and kind of thing, they're kind of seeing what happened to sports cards a few years ago. Box prices are getting crazy. You can't get stuff. You got to fist fight somebody at Costco to get a box, and for a lot of just collectors or small time flippers or just people looking to add this as something fun. I think you're going to see some of them sort of draw back from it. So, what was your observation of the show?
Yeah, I thought it was good. There was solid traffic. At one point early in the show, I went to go out to the main floor, and I couldn't see from one end to the other down the aisles, and I was like, nope, not going down that aisle.
Yeah.
So there was good foot traffic. I did not go in looking to be a big buyer for the day. Of course, I did buy some things, and if we get time later, we'll do a little show and share. I think I saw Sparkle from Australia come in. He's been begging to see some Star Wars from me, and I did pick up some Star Wars at the show, so maybe that'll be a good thing to show him tonight. But the biggest thing for me, and you alluded to it, is some of the best sales, and I'm selling the lowest end cards. I had 3 monster boxes of baseball that previously I was putting out for 10 cents a card, or bundle them and get them for 5 cents a card just to move some stuff. I tried a new marketing strategy this show, and I think I'm going to stick with it for the really low end stuff because it worked pretty well. This was my sign on my cards out there. You name the price, pay what you think is fair. And I did put limited time offer on it because I'm not sure how often I'm going to run it this way. It'll just be the next 2 couple shows if I move a lot of cards, or if I make this permanent long term. But the thought was, hey, I'm talking about nickels and dimes to begin with. Is it really worth my time to be in a negotiation on anything and break and change for people? So I put this sign out. I invested in a little cash box that I put the same sign on and put it out on my cards on the boxes. And at the end of the day, there were 10s and 5s and singles in there. And, people were just going through the box, taking what they want and paying what they thought was fair. And it worked out exactly how I thought. And that is that I think most card buyers really do have a sense of the market, and left to their own devices on low end stuff, they're gonna give you a decent amount for that, understanding that, hey, you took the time to get these out there for them, and there's some value even in the lowest end stuff, especially like the set collectors were out there digging in the box looking for this card or that card. They're really appreciative when you can find that card in that box. So I thought that worked really good. I know, Adam, you said that was something you thought was interesting, that I, went that route, and you noticed it seemed to work pretty well as well.
Yeah, it also allows you to kind of get away from the table and not really worry about it, because you don't.
Yeah.
you don't really have to collect the money anyway. I also like the idea of just getting the money put into a box you can't access, so you can't spend it right away.
Yeah, it's
You
a
can
locked box.
yeah, because it's so easy to just turn around and go buy, another stack of stuff. But yeah, I think when you try to do something creative like that, it kind of reminds me of. Do you know the game Cards Against Humanity?
I have heard of it. Yep, and I played it once. I think I'm just looking for that little card box right now.
Okay. Well, the game is huge, and it was when it first came out, it was gigantic. And how they started with selling the game was the game was free, and then you could just like make a donation or pay whatever you wanted to get the game. It's a card game, like for those of you who haven't played it. And I think that was a pretty good strategy. I think it got a lot of people into the game because some people maybe only paid $2. Maybe some people paid nothing. Maybe some people paid $10. But it got so many players to start playing the game. And now of course they charge for it. There is no name your price anymore. And they have expansion decks and packs and blah blah blah. So it became extremely profitable in the long run, but I thought that was a really interesting way. So they didn't do Kickstarter. Everybody wants to do everything with Kickstarter. It was kind of before that time, I think, too.
Yeah.
But it was just something that they did on their own. You had to order from their website. It wasn't distributed or anything like that. So they could save themselves on a lot of the costs and things. And it kind of got you there and got you in on it. And the cards are very simple. They're a white card with some black printing on it, and that's it. The box just says it's a plain black box, and it says Cards Against Humanity.
Right.
So they kept the game. The mechanics of the game are amazing. The information on the cards is really good. It makes the game a lot of fun. So they really focused on that, and then just didn't do any fluff. And I think a lot of people sometimes are looking for that. There's so much stuff where it's like fancy packaging and this and that. And it's like I just want a good game.
Yeah.
Can't you just make a quality game that I don't have to pay like $1,000 for?
Yeah.
That my friends can get into. And of course there's a lot of adult humor that comes with the game. There's things in it that obviously drives its popularity. Now there's a family edition, which is actually pretty fun too. But it's I think your concept of, hey, you know what this is worth? Give me something fair for it is not a bad idea.
I mean, what are you going to lose on nickel and dime cards anyway, right?
Right.
My only concern was someone who came along and said, "Oh, really? Here's $10 for the whole box."
That would be. I was just getting to that. I was going to say that's going to be somebody that, you didn't run into that this past weekend, but I think that could be something that you would see later on.
Yeah, and
I think they'd be hard pressed to.
That was my one disclaimer I was thinking about putting on the flyer is that, a little asterisk excludes, full box buys.
Yeah. Yeah, I would hope somebody wouldn't be jerk enough for that, but yeah, right now the reselling game isn't quite as hot on the sports card side, so you're probably not going to see that, but I could see once, there's another boom where that could be a thing.
Yeah.
Because, early on doing that show.
Cash box that we had. So I just seeded $2 in there to start the day and let it go from there.
Yeah, I thought it was a great idea. It's kind of like me with the kids packs, right? They're 10 cents. It's like, oh, someone wants to open the packs and look at what's in there. I don't care. They're 10-cent cards,
Right?
Oh, this kid only has $3. Can you get 2 packs? Sure. I don't care.
Yeah.
And again, it just saves people from that dig time or having to bargain on the price or whatever. It's like you grab this pack, it's $2 and you're on your way. And I sold a lot of them. That was probably the best. My basketball box is like way down, which is crazy because but it's the time of year for basketball. So I'm sure that had something to do with it. And I mean, there's decent cards in there. There's shiny stuff. There's some, decent names. And again, it's mostly stuff. I don't really buy basketball. I just get basketball when I'm doing other buys.
Yeah.
So it was, it's literally just stuff that Um, it doesn't really have a cost basis to it, so it's perfect for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people just want to grab a pack and go, you know, hey kid, here you go, $2, you get a couple Prism cards in there, you know, have fun with it. And then I don't know if I had any kids come back. To me, that's like the good sign of if you made a good pack is if a kid buys one, opens it, comes back and gets another one. You know, it
Yeah.
usually means they were pretty happy with what they had. But I'll tell you what I like the most about that. It's that little bit of mystery element, right? Why do we like to open a pack? Because we really don't know what's going to be in it.
Right.
Now, I don't think most kids, parents, whatever, when they're looking at a $2 repack like that, are expecting, you know, a one of one Tom Brady card in it or something. But maybe it's a player from a team they really like or something. You know,
Right.
I don't know. It just feels a little bit more. You get that little gambler's mentality to it, even though it's already been gone through.
Yeah.
Um, and I
You
think
could
there's
still see
reasons to
some
get sales like that.
parallel or numbered cards to like 4.99 or something like that in there
Yep,
too.
yep, yeah. And I put a few gems, you know, in the packs. I had a couple Jordan cards in some of the packs. You know, super low end stuff. But yeah, I wanted to throw a few diamonds in there as well. Uh, but I'm kind of like you. I took a little bit of a different approach at this show. I did the kids packs, which did okay when I was at the goat show, so I figured I'd try them here. And then I did a 50-cent box. So normally I would
Yeah.
do a quarter or a dime box. So you and I kind of went the opposite way, you know.
Yeah.
You went, this is my, I'm going to go lower than my low, and here, just give me what you want for it. Whereas I was like, all right, I'm going to bring a little bit better cards and do 50 cents. And I sold a bunch of those. So
Yeah.
it was a box that, you know, I had probably got for 50, $60. I think it was a, you know, a 7 box buy or something. That hadn't really dug through. And, you know, at 50 cents a card, that's about what you're going to make on a $1.99 sale anyway. So,
Yeah.
on eBay after fees. And then I didn't have to list them. I didn't have to do any of that. So it was kind of nice to, so I made buys on that Saturday, but it was mainly just turning over the money that I had made at the table, which was
Right.
kind of nice because normally I'm just spending out of pocket and then I make a few bucks at the show. So because the first few shows I did, I was bringing bigger cards, and I don't really do that now. I'd rather sell them on eBay. You're going to get a better, you know, closer to market that way. It
Right.
feels I feel than that. And you're right. I don't want to me the show is kind of a fun way to make some connections, do a little shopping. I don't want to sit there all day and haggle over, you know, $15 and $20 cards and oh, can I see
Right.
this one? Or did you know? I don't want to have the showcase, bring the showcase, you know, glass thing there and have single cards out, and
Yeah.
that's just not really what I want to do at a show. So this was good. It was good.
Yeah. And I did have one buyer get into a serious conversation about me with, you know, like, no, but really, what are most people giving? And I'm like, hey, whatever you think it's worth, man. I'm like, you know, these are low end cards. If you're gonna get one and you give me a quarter, I'm happy with that. If you're gonna get 10 of them and you give me, you know, 5 cents a piece, I'm happy with that. You know, like we're talking change here per card, so you know, don't be bashful. Just
I
throw
think
in what you want.
I think that's a good play too, because I think people are gonna tend to give you more necessarily than you would even ask because they don't want to look cheap and they don't want to be offensive to you, you know. So whereas you say, okay, these are 10 cents a piece, they're gonna bargain with you because you value them at 10 cents. So let's do,
Yeah.
you know, like can I get them for 8 cents if I buy 100
Right.
card? You know,
Right.
you gave them a starting point. They have to come up with the starting point. So they're going, uh let's you know, how about a dime a card? Sure, that's what I was going to ask anyway. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you might have given up the 8 cents and gotten the 10 cents instead per card.
Yeah. Well, what I found
So
most surprising is I don't believe there was any change in that cash box. I thought for sure there would be a handful of change in there, at least at the end of the day. and there
Yeah.
wasn't, which tells me that people were more inclined to say, well, let me grab a handful so it makes sense to throw $1 in there or something, you know?
And it was kind of cool because it made our table, like, normally you and I are kind of putting the same thing out. We were kind of different.
Yeah,
You had a lot of baseball. I didn't even bring baseball.
right. Yeah.
I had well, there was some baseball in my 50-cent box, obviously, because that was some of everything, but I had some non-sport in there. I had some, like, Empire Strikes Back Star Wars stuff, and there was a good mix there. And then my kids packs were all basketball and football.
Hmm.
So it was kind of neat. Like, we literally had some buyers where they were like, get some stuff from my end of the table, and then they go down by you and they get some stuff from your end of the table. So I felt like we intentionally kind of brought the right mix. We sort of
Yeah.
hit everybody.
And then Creed had his
And
little
then
section with some
I was
Pokemon and some
I was
wrestling
just
too.
yeah, I was just gonna say, and then you had your Pokemon. So
Yeah.
yeah, it felt like I felt like that was probably our best setup at a table, as
Yeah.
far as offering some variety. Somebody came and they wanted a bigger name player, great. Dig in the 50-cent box. You'll probably be more likely to find that in there. Oh, I need some, filler cards for my baseball sets. Great. Charlie's got what you want there. Just, whatever you feel is fair, put it in the box.
Yep.
Oh, my kid just wants something to open. Here's $2. He likes basketball cards. Great.
Yeah.
Here's a kids pack. Like, oh, I'm looking for good Pokemon cards. Oh, Creed's got some good foils, and I'm sure he had some nice stuff. I don't really know Pokemon, so I'm just giving him credit for it. But so almost anybody, unless you were looking for higher end graded stuff like that. Obviously, we don't have that out there, but outside of that, if you're just looking for nice, affordable, collectible cards, we kind of had everything, some of everything, for just
Mhm.
one table. It was good. It was good. I like that show.
Yeah.
And it makes me excited. I get excited then for our show, because I
Right.
like to see the show was busy. Lots of vendors, lots of creativity in the vendors. We did well with sales. I found some good buys. So I feel like we're ready. The Go Show is ready now to be back. Last show was in January. So wait, March. Last show was in March. um so it's time. I really like the bi-monthly / quarterly sort of time frame that we sort of land in. I feel it's the right timing to put our show out there. So
Yeah, I agree.
all right, let's move.
All right.
I can't read that. It's all tiny
You
and stuff.
can't read it? Troy says, thanks for the order. Got it last week. Where do you get your card savers and by who, if you don't mind sharing?
Is he he's saying from me, right? Because
Yeah, I think you must have filled an order for him.
yeah, I think he bought on my whatnot. uh I use it's funny, this was kind of a topic that came up today too on the Discord. By the way, if you're not on the Discord, the link's coming along on the bottom there. Make sure you join. It's free, it's fun, lots of good conversation on there. But since the elite card savers are basically defunct, the price has gotten to not what you're going to order them at. I switched to these Card Sharks, CARDSHARKZ savers, and I really like them. They're actually cheaper than the elite ones, at least from the dealer that I buy them from. So, about a couple cases of those, I'm getting. It's funny. I don't realize how much stuff I'm going through until I look, and I'm like, Chris, I have none of those left. I just had 2 cases of them. But I'm getting close to. I kind of took a page out of your book, Charlie, where you had like the organizer and stuff for your
Yeah.
top loads and that. I didn't quite go that far, but an ETB box top works perfect for card
Sure.
savers. It's got this nice little, kind of opening here so I can easily grab them, and it basically fits an entire 1,000 count pack. Fits like perfectly in this box top. So anyway, that's what I use. But yeah, the quality is pretty good. They're probably not quite as good as like an Ultra Pro or something like that, but the cost is amazing. So I think I paid, was it $99 for a case, I think is what it was. for a
That's right.
case of 5,000. I can't remember. I can pull it up though. But yeah, I've been very happy with them. My customers really like them. I haven't gotten any like like you said, you liked them, Troy, and I haven't really gotten any negative feedback or anybody saying, "Oh, you're using those card sharks. You shouldn't do cards getting all bent up, something like that." I haven't had that problem. All right, let me see here. I got to get out of the sales and go back to my buys.
Yeah, I'm still in the elites. I've got majority of one case left to go through. So
I when the tariff stuff was coming out, I went and go figure, the guy that I was buying them from now he doesn't have any. But I was trying to get them bulk up on them a little bit before there would be a bunch of price changes. Let me see. I don't remember what I paid, and now it doesn't say because it's not available anymore.
You can't go back to your order?
Well, I'm in the shop again button. I guess I could go back to the actual order.
Yeah, just go to purchase history.
Yeah.
So that was off of eBay, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh,
Come over.
we got a visitor?
Mrs. Dollarbox wants to talk. Do you want the head? Do you need the headphones?
Oh, here we
I don't
go.
need the headphones. Not that I can hear any of you, but just wanted to say a quick hello. I wanted to let any of our vendors who are watching know that we will be sending out emails this weekend, just confirming your spot, putting the show map out there for the GOAT Show. Wanted to send a huge thank you to all of you for patience. Normally, I have these out last weekend, but with this being graduation season, we had some last minute vendor changes and we wanted to try to honor those so they could be with their families as well. So making a couple shifts, but we will have that vendor map coming out. Also, a huge thank you to all of our vendors out there for continuing to support us and continuing to be active at this show and so many others. We love having a great diversity of vendors. We love having family-oriented vendors who are there as well. And we love how much you guys take care of each other and protect each other. It's a great show and a great place to be. And we're very, very honored to be able to host all of you. So if you need anything, you know how to get a hold of us at Gmail. Watch out for those Rams that are scamming some of our posts lately. Not been great. Not my favorite. We're trying to stay on top of those. As always, if you don't get that official email from the Goat Card Show Gmail account, it is not official Goat Show correspondent. So if you need anything, hit us up. We're here. We're happy to see you, and we're looking forward to next Sunday.
Karsten just messaged me. He wants to add another table.
Karsten, we got you.
Okay, so if you want to message him,
I'll take care of it.
I think he messaged me personally.
Last few tables are booking up fast.
Fantastic.
So.
Karsten, email incoming.
Okay. Yeah, so yeah, when it gets closer to the show, it gets a little chaotic. We're just filling the final tables here. Yeah, and it's crazy how like we sell a ton right up front because we have our regular dealers that want to book right away and get that. We give a little bit of a reduced price if they book right away. So we get about half full from that right off the bat. And then, you get a few here and there. And then the week of, it's like, boom. And now you're starting to scramble to see about a waiting list or adding tables, or something like that. It's a good problem to have in many ways. But yeah, so that's where we're at. We're kind of just finishing it out. We have a few dealers that are adding tables, which is always a good sign. We do have the live breaker. BB Sports Breaks is going to be breaking live at the show. He's selling spots right now. Charlie, can you put a link to his Facebook page on there?
Yeah.
You have that ability?
Let me take care of that.
So we'll put a link down below if you want to check out BB Sports Cards. He's selling the break spots now, and you can pick up the cards live after the break at the show. So he's going to be up on the stage live streaming. I think he's using Whatnot for this one. It's either Whatnot or Loop. I can't remember. I'm pretty sure it's Whatnot though. It's the first time we're doing it, so we're kind of all figuring this out as we go. But He's selling spots already, team spots. But go to his Facebook page. All the details are on there. We have details on the Goat Show Facebook page too, if that's something that interests you. I think it's kind of cool to pay for a spot in a break and then be live and present at the break. You know what I mean? I don't think that you get a lot of opportunity to do that. So if you're into that kind of thing, BB Sports is a shop down in Appleton area, so just half hour south of our show, and they do a great job. Great reputation for breaks. They pull some pretty sweet cards. Some of those dual downtowns and stuff. I was like, man, you guys are on fire. So if you're into breaks and you want an opportunity to pull some cool stuff and not have to buy cases and boxes yourself, it's a great way to do it. So we want to make sure that we are promoting them. We should almost update the flyer and have them added on there now. Now that I'm looking at it, we also have the autographed helmet giveaway. Marcus Allen, Hall of Famer Marcus Allen with the Oakland Raiders. It was Oakland at one time, and so we're giving that away. That's to qualify for that, you just need to bring a donation for the carrying closet. We should maybe. Do you have the flyer with the list of the donating items?
Nope. I just have this flyer.
Okay, maybe I'll throw that up. Maybe I'll put that up there. We'll do that next week. Because I believe I have a flyer of just like the items that they're requesting. But basically, it's like personal care items, right? So like deodorant and shampoos and hairspray and stuff like that. So kids can be look their best selves when they get to school. Some of those items that are, some families just can't afford. They have the necessities, but they don't have those extra things that would be really nice. So, toiletries, stuff like that. So, bring an item. Any item you bring in, you'll get entered into the drawing for the helmet. Otherwise, we are doing a cash donation, which will also go to the carrying closet. So for every $1, you can buy a ticket and do it that way too. We'll draw at the end of the show. If you're not present at the drawing, we will get that item to you. You've seen that on our Facebook page where we present the winners with their winning item. We'll track you down and bring it out to you, or you can come pick it up, whatever. So we've got that. We have kids packs. We've got some, unopened packs to rip. Each kid is going to get a pack when they show up. So we got that. We've got the Hide a Goat game. We're going to have a good dozen goats hidden at select dealer tables. You find a goat, you bring it back up to our welcome table, and you'll earn some goat bucks. You'll get 5 goat bucks for a regular goat, and you can use that goat bucks at any table at the show towards the purchase at that table. And then we have a gold one. We introduced the Goldie goat. And that's going to get you. Is it 20? Is it 25? I can't remember. What did we decide on for the amount? I think it was 25.
I thought we said 20.
20 bucks.
Goldie here.
20 bucks. Yeah. So if you find the golden goat, you get a $20 voucher to spend at any dealer at that show. It has to be spent at the same show. It's only good during that show. So you got to be present at least long enough to spend your goat bucks. But it was very popular. The dealers had a great time with it. It's good for all the attendees. It gets them around to a lot of other dealers, gives them something fun and extra to do. And just goats. I mean, goats are awesome. So it gives us a way to get some more goats in there. So yeah, that's going to be the show. 70 plus dealers. I just went there on Tuesday and finished the contract for the next show, which will be September 28th. So we'll have more information out that as we get closer, but we'll have everything available on the vendor tables. If you want to rebook right away for the September show, we'll take care of you right away and get you a little deal on the table for booking early. Good food menu. We're on the marquee out on Main Street. So everybody that drives down that main street will see that the show is going on. Plenty of parking, free admission. There's an ATM on site. McDonald's across the street. Kroll's if you want some good local food fare, famous food fare. That's right around the corner. So yeah, great show. We're looking forward to having another successful one.
Yeah, it's. I mean, every show we've done so far has, exceeded expectations so far. At least in my estimation, I think it's been really great. Everybody seems to leave happy. We bring in a lot of families. Everybody comes out together, and they really enjoy the raffles with the donation. They enjoy the goat game. Here's a good look at the Marcus Allen helmet that we'll be raffling off with that donation to the Caring Closet. So yeah, really
And
a
it
good
is-
time for all. Food and drink on site, so you don't have to leave the venue to go grab some lunch. We got plenty of room to sit and go through your finds and have some lunch and grab something to drink before you head back out and walk the rows again.
Yeah, there's good point, Charlie. We do have a good amount of space to sit. So if you just want to buy some packs or some boxes or sit down with your friends and chat, have something to eat, have something to drink, we do have a bar. They will serve you a drink if you want something from the bar. Yeah, it's great atmosphere. Plenty of bathrooms. It's one giant show floor, so you don't have to go into a bunch of different rooms and try to figure out where dealers are. It just presents itself really well for a card show experience. There was something else I was going to say. Now I can't remember what it was. I don't think it was about the parking. Oh, anyway. So yeah, we're looking forward to that. It's kind of nice now because this is what, our fourth one, I think.
Yeah.
And it feels like we're really in the groove. We just kind of round the corners each show, do a little something better, a little something extra. Maybe tone something down a little bit. If it was a little much, and we're just really nailing it down to what we want it to be. Charlie and I will be doing a live show from there. Oh, that's what I was going to say. The show time is from 9 to 2. I didn't point that out when I was telling everything about the show.
You didn't point that out?
I didn't. Hours kind of matter. Show is from 9 to 2. Charlie and I will be doing a live show from there, just like we did the last one. Probably sometime around 10 a.m., 10:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So we'll give you a little bit of a show of what we picked up, kind of the feel of the show, an overview of that. We'll be on the stage, so you'll see all the crowd and everything happening behind us. Maybe we'll grab a dealer and do a little interview or something like that. For this one, that could be fun. We'll see. Charlie and I got to talk about that a little bit this week. But I think that was really successful. It was a lot of fun. We had a lot of people come in to the show either during our live or right after our live and said, "Oh yeah, I saw you guys on the show, on the live show, that you were here, so we decided to stop in." So it was kind of cool. That was neat to have viewers just sort of pop in. I know I'm not making quite as many videos, but I feel like if I can do more live experiences and things like that, I think that to some degree, I think that's more fun, a little more authentic, and has a little bit more, value than just showing a sales day video type of thing. So
yeah,
that's kind of where we're going. That's kind of what's happening next week with the Goat Show. There's BB Sports Breaks. Go follow them on Facebook. They're, like I said, their breaks, I believe, are posted right on there as well. So you can go ahead and jump in that break if you want to get yourself a spot. It is on the Goat Show Facebook page as well. So you can go there and find their information. But yeah, Benji's a great dude. We're super excited to have him have him right when we were going to start the show. I had started talking to him and we were trying to figure out a way to do this. And our live show was a good example of how well a live presentation can be done at this venue, which is not the same at every venue.
Right.
So we're very fortunate that, we're confident and he's confident in everything, that everything's going to stream perfectly fine. And that's obviously important when you're doing breaks and such. But yeah, if you're in the break, you'd be welcome to come up on stage and view the break live. Pick up your cards right then and there. And then BB Sports Cards does have a vendor table down on the floor too. So they'll be selling cards, boxes, all the stuff that they normally sell outside of breaking. So you can visit them on the show floor as well.
Yeah, and I did share a link to that Facebook page in the chat. Let me know if it doesn't work. I don't have the best luck with Facebook links. I don't know why they don't just have like a share button where you can, grab a link. If they do, I sure can't find it, but I shared the page as best I can, so hopefully that works.
Yeah, if not BB Sports, I mean, it's pretty simple one to look up. Again, you can go to the Goat Show Facebook page and it's on there too.
Yes.
So we'll get you there if you need it. But yeah, I think that'll be fun. It was something I wanted to provide at a show, ever since we had our initial thoughts about even doing a show. So I feel like the things we're trying to do are really coming together. The only thing that didn't work out was Brick World, and they're closed. So that wasn't really on us. That did not last very long. I don't know what happened there, but they didn't. They put a lot into that storefront. It looked really cool, and then it was like a week later, I drove by and the place is totally empty. I'm like, what's going on here? So
yeah.
Anyway,
well, let's jump back out there in the chat. Snappy's here. It says happy Wednesday,
Hey.
Adam and Charlie.
Happy Wednesday.
Did I hear you mention a Goat Pen 2.0 in the works? You sure did hear that. I have a completed Goat Pen 2.0. He says he keeps meaning to make one and wanted to get your latest ideas. Thanks. Yeah, I did. I finished up 2.0 this past week. Adam now has the original Goat Pen.
I do.
Yeah, I made some small improvements in my estimation. It's not earth changing. I can show you a little bit. I do have it handy here. It's always handy in my card room, that's for sure. Oh, I just violated the terms of my rehab. I think this is more than 1 pound. So this is the Goat Pen 2.0. So you can see it is all painted flat black. The top I fastened a little differently, but it's still, standard foam cutout with a bumper on there. What I did with the lights is different. And I'm gonna take your chat off there for a second.
Yep.
What I did with the lights this time is different. I actually have metal bars in there, so I can actually move these lights around and position them wherever I want. They do work off of a remote still. So there we go. You can see they're in there. And this set of lights actually has different settings. So it's on daylight now. I can do the warm or the daylight. And there you go. The other thing I did on this one is you will see pure black on that back wall. In the first version, you would see the slats from the crate. So I did a back wall on this one because occasionally I do want to put something on a card stand back there, and I will take that picture in here as well. And then with the lights on, you can see that would turn out pretty well also. So granted, I am working on a very small picture here to kind of show you everything, but
Right.
That's basically it. I added a handle on the front here so I can quickly grab that and carry it by kind of the strongest part of this. But all these lights, they can come right out. There's just magnets on the back and they go right back onto that light bar. So I can move them down any way I want. I can have them right close together. I can have them on opposite ends. So it works out pretty well. I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, and thanks to Charlie for donating Goat Pen 1 to myself. I used it for a few cards. I posted some examples in the Discord, and it is a nice option for the like I said, I'm going to do more Chrome base scanning, but it will be nice for all that stuff that you don't want to scan. That's definitely going to have a reflection, just to
Yeah.
get the for me the primary version or primary reason to do it is just to get your camera out of the photo
Yes.
from the reflection. So as long as it can do that, that's a step ahead as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and that was the whole reason for me to try and fabricate something on my own. I have the traditional collapsible light box with the reflector inside and the circle of lights on the top. And I was constantly battling one of two things. Either my phone and myself were showing on the shiny card, or just a half crescent moon of that light on the
the
top
lighting.
would reflect on it as well. And it just drove me nuts. So I found this as a low cost option to create my own custom light box, and I love it. I've got, once you use it once, you know exactly what you want your camera zoomed into. For me, it's 2.1 zoom. I put it in there. I have a perfect border. Click, flip, click, out, and I'm done.
Yeah, and I do 2.0 right on the head, which is nice because I can just hit the 2. I don't have to move the slide. And once you set it to 2 or 2.1, it stays there anyway for as long as you're shooting. But I like it because I want to leave that little bit of space on the bottom for my banner. So 2.0 tends to work perfectly for me that way. And yeah, you're right. I basically, my phone size is a little different than yours, and obviously you drew yours out on there for your phone, which makes sense. But what I found is, as long as I set the camera over the hole, I just put the card in the box wherever I need it to be. So it really doesn't matter what phone you use. Luckily, our camera lenses, because we're smart enough to have Android. Luckily, our camera lenses are basically lined up the same. My phone is skinnier than his because mine folds out. So, he's got a longer and wider phone than I do. So I just kind of have to slide it up that little bit in the box.
Yeah.
But it didn't take me extra time or anything like that. I was able to just put it right on there. So yeah, works good.
And fair
Simple
notice, that did hurt my hand. I was handling that too much.
yeah, don't do that. And I did plan to make one. I had gotten some foam board from Charlie and stuff, but then he was like, well, I'm going to upgrade and make a 2.0. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to make one then. That doesn't seem like it makes a lot of sense if there's already going to be one out there. And I'm not quite as picky on the photography as you. So I felt like whatever you had made for the first one, and I saw your pictures, they look great. So I was very satisfied that I'm very happy that was something that we could continue using.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things that drove me to there were two things that stood out on the original that made me go to 2.0. One is I was having trouble getting the lights to stay on the side rails because I had glued them with wood glue right to the wood, right?
Yeah.
And it just wasn't a good enough bond. And every once in a while, I just hear one fall off behind me, right? So I fixed that by going to this metal rail and the magnets, which was very inexpensive, maybe $5 for the metal and the magnets. And then the other thing was I occasionally had some cards that I wanted to put on a stand. And I'm like, man, that would be great to be able to take a picture off the back of this as well with the card standing up. And I couldn't do it with the old one because it was just the wooden slats in the back. So I just put a piece of poster board over that, and now I have that dual use when I need it. 90% of it, I'm taking pictures through the top, looking down with the card on the flat bottom. But every once in a while, there's a card I want to put on a card stand and get a little different image.
Yeah, and I could take the first one, and just put a piece of foam board in the back.
Yep, you could.
I can insert that and do that. Yep. I don't know that I'm going to be doing much on a stand, so I don't know that that's something that I will add right at this point in time. But I do have that extra foam board too, so I could just do it and be done with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a great idea. I think it it was economical the way you did it, and it wasn't a ton of work and
Yeah.
functions. You might go through a few batteries, but other than that, or
And that's not too bad. As long as you
Yeah.
remember to make sure they
turn
shut
them
off
off.
when you're done.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I'm pretty good with that, so I'm not too worried
Yeah.
about that. But yeah, it's nice to just have something I like that I can just have something static sitting on my desk, and then it's just pop and take shots. And
Yep.
I have to stand up, so I have a stand up desk, basically put it down all the way because I want to see the camera, obviously, which is on top of the box. So I stand up when I shoot, but
Yeah.
but it's not terrible. It's not like uncomfortable or anything to do it.
Right.
So
Right. Yeah,
yeah,
it does.
works good.
It does work nice if you are if eye level is positioned above it, because you want to see the image on your phone to make sure it's lined up right. The other thing is I just made some cosmetic upgrades because I was like, well, if I'm making a new one, I want to make it look a little sharper. So I did the flat
Sure.
black on everything, and put a little marketing on it as well.
I even thought about if you had the right space for this, you could make one where you had it mounted onto the wall. So instead of like shooting top down, you'd have it so that the card, you'd have some way to mount the card on the bottom
Yep.
against the wall, and then your phone would be, so you'd be standing up looking, directly like you would normally look at your phone. And you would have, a brace or whatever for your phone to fit right in there so it would stay. And then shoot the pictures right straight ahead versus having to look down. So there's some different, I haven't thought too far into it because it's a pretty basic tool as far as I'm concerned, the way I'm going to use it. But there's ways you could vary it and do something different. So, cool.
Yeah.
I dig it.
I already have one thing I wanted to do with 2.0 that I was not able to do in the time frame I wanted to complete it. Is I had originally envisioned to have some locking snaps on the corners of the top so that it would be a removable top. But I had trouble finding the snaps I wanted, so I did end up gluing this one on. So if I ever do a 3.0, that'll be the next enhancement I look to do. Either kind of a hinged open from the top, or something where you can completely replace the top. So, for example, if you wanted to make a new cutout for your phone, it would just slide in and snap those corners back down.
Well, you could just use Velcro.
Yeah.
Because that's easy enough to pull back and forth. They make sticky Velcro. You could just stick it right on there. I use that quite a bit in costuming. You don't want anything where you're going to have a lot of weight on it. Velcro doesn't do a good job with that.
Yeah.
But if it's something lightweight, and especially if it's going to be sitting, it's working with gravity, not against gravity, it does a pretty good job. So it's cheap enough. It's easy to find. It's replaceable if something goes wrong with it. Snaps can be great, but a good quality snap, you'll have to put a good amount of pressure on it to get it to unsnap. And that foam board can bend and break, and you might end up with more damage than you would if you had a lesser hold.
Yeah, maybe.
So just a thought.
Velcro has not been my friend lately. There is one piece of Velcro on that. So just inside the handle, there's a strip of Velcro that holds the remote when you're not using it.
Sure.
But Velcro has not been my friend lately because the stuff I have at home apparently is pretty strong. Because every time I try to disconnect something in other places I've used it, like I end up ripping things off the wall or ripping a cover off of something.
So there is different grades of Velcro. They do make industrial strength Velcro.
Yeah.
And a lot of people just go, well, I want it to hold, so I'm going to go to industrial strength, and that's really not what you want in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
You end up kind of getting back to the snaps problem where you have to put so much pressure on to get something pulled apart that you end up damaging it. So yeah, you have to really, I mean, you could even use like double sticky tape. You'd have to replace the tape if you were pulling it off and on a lot, but
I would want to do that.
But that
And I
would
can-
hold it.
I can tell you the gauge of Velcro I used. It's whatever was in the big bag of Velcro strips that I think my wife put together years ago.
Yeah, but see, she was probably, I mean, she might have been using it to hold, you know.
I think it was to hang pictures and stuff.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
gonna have probably more strength than you really need. You just need like a
Yeah.
basic Velcro,
Yeah.
you know, strip. So I don't know. That's probably the route I would go if it was something you were gonna take off once in a while. Velcro would do a decent job with that. Snaps, you could make snap plates. We used to do that. I used to do that with costumes. So you would make, like, let's say I wanted this piece of a plastic costume to attach to this piece of a plastic costume.
Yep.
So I would take like nylon webbing, and I would cut little chunks of it, and I'd attach the snap to the nylon webbing, and then I would
Okay.
glue the webbing into the plastic so that you had a snap. The snap didn't go through the plastic, because again, well, first of all, you would see it, and second of all, the more especially a costume, because you're going to snap it on, and guess what? You have to snap it off to get out of it. So you're
Yeah.
constantly, you know, if you're doing that every weekend, it just destroys the plastic. It rips, you know, everything apart eventually. So if the webbing is very strong, and if the webbing does go bad, you can always just pull that off. I use E6000. I don't use super glue. E6000 is a lot more favorable to pulling off. It almost does like a rubber cement thing, but it holds longer. So
Yeah.
you can kind of peel it right off. But anyway, if the webbing would go bad, you know, it would shred up or the snap would pull apart, you could easily just pull the webbing back out, put a new piece in, and you're brand new. So that, to me, I feel like that's the best application for snaps, and I don't know that that's the right thing to do with what we're trying to do here.
Yeah, and the reason I was thinking about the removable top is I was trying to get images of some oversized cards one day. And they're
Sure.
too big for the aperture hole that we have in there. I
Mhm.
think that's the right word for it. So I was like, oh, I'd really like to have it against that nice black flat bottom. And, you know, it lines up really nice in there, but I can't get the whole card in the opening that I have in there. So I was like, it'd be nice if I could just lift up the top and, you know, take a few oversized in there.
Yeah, I mean, you could switch the top from a foam board to like a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
You know, that would be stronger, and then you could use snaps or something like, you know, where you're not going to pull it apart as easily. So yeah, you got to redo a little engineering, I think. But yeah, I think it's possible for sure.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to do that later on, make goat pen number 3. We're gonna have to find a place for 2 to go. You can't get rid of that stuff. It's got to go to somebody. Maybe we'll raffle it off at the show or something.
There you go.
You
There
know,
you go.
I'm surprised you didn't make a YouTube video about, you know, making the goat pen kind of thing.
I did have one on the original, I believe.
Oh, did you? Oh,
Yeah.
I must have missed that one then.
I think that's one of the
I don't-
last
I don't
videos
remember
I made.
Oh, well, my bad.
Yeah. All right. Let's get back to the chat here a little bit.
Yep.
The Tank Rodriguez show. So he's got a comment about the tall cards you were asking about, the tall boys.
Yeah. What does he
Says
say?
he has hundreds of DC Superman tall cards.
Yeah.
And he's interested in seeing it now.
Yeah, I think that's going to be my plan for tomorrow. I can't really work on sports card scans anyway, so I've got some time. So I'm going to really just focus on getting the tall. Do you guys know what I'm talking about when I say Star Wars wide vision cards? Because I can pull a couple out if you want to see them. But I think that I have a lot of them, like a lot,
Yeah.
because there's probably 4 or 5 sets that came out with those, and I probably have a couple sets of each. So I have a good amount of them. And I have sold some. I did list some by hand, and it was fine. But I really just want to start running some of them through the scanner and get it done.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm going to do. But I was pretty confident that I could do it. But it was just like, well, that's still like work. So I'll just do these because these are easy.
Right.
And that's kind of what I was doing. Remember when we were talking about the Monsters Inc. cards that I bought at the National?
Yeah.
I got offers on 2 of them today. I was like, wow, that's
Nice.
weird that. Yeah, because I sold all the big ones right away, and now I just have like a couple of the fringe scarers left.
Yeah.
Because I've got them priced pretty high. There's like none of them out on eBay, so
Okay.
I'm willing to wait and hang out for the right price. But yeah, it was kind of ironic that we were just talking about it, and boom, here comes some offers. Isn't that how it goes sometimes?
Yeah, it does. So Tank says he's actually going to try some right now, or he probably
there you
tried
go.
those 40 minutes ago.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So we'll have to hear his report later.
Yeah.
Brandon Isaacson is here. He says, wouldn't a tall boy be similar size to slabbed cards?
Yes, I would say lengthwise, but they're not as wide. Like, yeah. So they tall wise, yes, they should be about the same, but they're going to be skinnier. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I hope.
Yeah. Yep,
so
definitely.
that's the biggest thing is I want to make sure, again, I'm not super picky on my photography on a $2 card, but I want to make sure that I don't have like this giant border on either side and then this little tiny image because it's tall. You know what I'm saying? That's where I was like, I don't know how well it's going to do with figuring that part out, but
I think it's going to do just fine.
Yeah, and I mean, until you try, right? You don't know.
Right.
I actually thought there was no way I could scan mini cards, so I'd just been listing them all by hand. I found out you can scan the mini cards; they do okay. Not the micro cards, but you can do minis and like the corporal, like the cigarette size cards.
Yeah.
They don't scan that bad actually, in most cases.
See, I like to when I photo my minis, I like to do it at a zoom level where there's more of a border so you can see it's a smaller card versus the mini taking up the full image.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, and I don't care.
That sounds right.
Yep.
That checks out.
I put mini in the listing, and I have never had a problem with it. So
Yeah.
But yeah, the only way to really show that it's a mini is to have something normal size comparable next to it. What I used to do, and this actually works pretty well too, what I used to do is I would take the picture of it in a sleeve because the sleeve would be a normal card. So it's kind of like showing the card on top of a normal size card so you could see it little.
Mm-hmm.
So that works pretty well. If you're worried about somebody not knowing it's a mini or not thinking it's a mini, you could do that too.
Yeah. Now, when you feed that through the scanner as a mini, are you putting it in vertical or horizontal?
I put it in vertical.
Just like a normal card?
Yep. So what I do is I make sure it's like in the middle of my batch, so I don't have like the little card on the front or the back.
Yeah.
And then because remember, I just hand feed, I take my 40 cards. So it might not work for you depending on how you do your batch, but
yeah,
I just I sort of let them kind of drop in one at a time so that I don't get a jam. And the little card will drop in with the rest of them. And then, when it's its turn, it pulls through and, it scans pretty well. So I wouldn't do like the micros, the micro ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know about that. I have a feeling you could just be taking apart the scanner trying to find the damn thing. But the minis were fine. I didn't have any problems. So I'm trying to cut down some of my time on. I have so much stuff listed as it is. I'm just trying to figure out how to. Okay, great. I put my time in on that. Now can I get some of this other stuff through on the scan? I'm trying to find stuff to scan because I don't have. I got to use the scans. So if I have mini cards, well, let's do it. And then I'm using up my scans. So I don't know. That was kind of my motivation behind it. But I think you can almost scan anything that doesn't need a reflection. If it needs a reflection of light, the scanner is going to be completely limited by that because there's no way for it to get any light in between its image.
Okay.
So refractors, shiny cards, bubble cards, prisms, none of that's gonna do very well.
Right.
But I'll tell you, I did scan a silver mosaic just to try it because I'm like, well, it's not really refractor. They actually show up pretty decent just as exclusive. Do you remember 2002 exclusive football? Where it's got that
No.
kind of like scope border to it. I don't know if I have any out here right now. I could bring up a picture. But I did some of those as a scan, and those actually show up really well, and they're kind of reflective.
Yeah, I remember when we
Pacific
first got it,
exclusive.
and I was going through trials of different cards. I did scan some Mosaic, and they were okay, but they were also kind of inconsistent for me. So eventually, I was like,
They
I
are.
don't want to send 5 through and 2 scan the way I like it, and 3 I have to rescan. So I stopped.
Right. Yeah, I'll show you this one. Let me see if I can do a. Oh, I got to be on the show though on my laptop, which I'm not logged into the show.
Oh, that's all right.
Well, anyway, look up 2002 Pacific exclusive, and it's kind of got like a scope background to it, foil background, and they actually scan pretty well. So I was surprised at that.
Really?
I think more and more shoppers are like they're okay with seeing a scan for the most part, on a $1.99 card.
Yeah.
Versus back in the day, I was like, no, I want to see the card, and I don't like the image of the scan, and blah blah blah. I feel like that's not as big a deal to me as it once was.
Yeah, you were pretty dead set against it at one point.
Yeah.
But you seem like you've really come around on it.
Yeah, well, you said I never changed, Charlie, so I'm trying to change.
I didn't say that. I said you don't like change.
Who does? It means you got to do stuff. If something's working, why would you want to change? This is funny. I got this is kind of weird. So I got this feedback. It's a positive feedback. It's an in the bike spokes kind of card, but suited my purpose and was fairly priced and quickly shipped for a $5 item. It wasn't ridiculous, but I would buy from again. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's so all over the place.
There's your 2002 Pacific exclusive.
There you go. Now you know what cards I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
It almost looks cooler as a scan than it does a photo. You could bring up one that was on a photo too, and then you'll see what I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Background with the scope design in there. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
So, and that's kind of a shiny foily type thing where normally I wouldn't scan it, but I bought a huge. Those are actually really, really short printed. And out of the dime boxes this past weekend, out of Nate's dime boxes, I found a whole stack of, big name football players. It was a set for 1 year, 2002. Yeah. That was it. One of the shortest printed years in all of football cards. To top it off, so it had smaller prints as it was, but he had a big stack of like a bunch of the big names, from football at that time, and I was like, well, I got to get those at a dime a piece. And then as I was kind of going through my buys, I was like, I wonder if these would scan okay, and I threw them in. And I was like, man, they look pretty good. So I'm just trying different things and seeing how it goes. And if it's a $1.99 card, I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I got other stuff I want to do. So
yeah. All right.
So
Wealthy Joe says, how is one-handed listing going? It's coming along. I mean, this will come off on Friday. That'll speed things up. Yesterday was really tough. So I had my surgery about 10 a.m. Central, and my hand was still numb from the nerve block or whatever they do until about 6 p.m. at night. That really created a problem. Once that came back around, like I'm typing pretty good now. The imaging is the hardest part for me right now because this hand's a little clumsy with the big bandage and stuff. And see, I just tried to flip my wrist a little bit like I'm flipping over a card, and made me wince a little bit. So then I got to do it left-handed. So that takes me a little bit longer. But once I have the image done, which tonight my son was kind enough to do like 50 Cacawao cards for me. Once I have the image,
Cacawao?
then the actual listing part isn't too bad. It's a little bit slower, but not noticeably where I'm only going to list like 5 cards a day or something like that. So, but if I keep breaking the rules and grabbing things that weigh more than a pound, I might set myself back here. So I got to watch it. My wife is scolding me everything I grab. So
I love those Cacawao cards, but they're just a bit too thick to scan, and it's so annoying.
yeah.
A complete
You can hear
set
them when they feed through, right?
Yeah,
And then you can tell the difference when they hit the tray at the end too.
yeah, and you don't want to get them damaged or do something to the scanner, but they sell really well. I've sold through quite a bit, but it's like a 300 card set, so it takes you a while to list all 300 of those things.
Especially when you get a case at a time.
Well, yeah. Well, I bought basically a complete set,
Yeah.
So it was basically, well, actually, it was more than that, I think. I think I had I got 600 cards, so it must have been almost 2 sets.
Right.
But most of my Lilo and Stitch stuff sold this weekend. No shocker there.
I had to laugh the other day, last week, Wednesday. Wednesday is always my non-sport day. And I put some out, and I was pricing them, and do you know who the Winter Soldier is? Bucky Barnes.
Yeah.
So his cards came up, and I was like, I don't think he's got a big following. I'm gonna put these a little bit lower. They were the first ones that went.
Yeah.
Like, what the heck?
Sometimes you get surprised. The Star Wars one sold really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, any of the superhero stuff, Batman's and Superman's always go really quick, stuff like that. But yeah, quality product. I hope they make more stuff because I think they do cool work, and I hope we keep having vendors who bring it with them so that we can buy it off of them. He was so ecstatic for us to, take all the base stuff off his hands, and I was happy too. So I'm gonna try to talk to him. I haven't talked to him since because he went on vacation and stuff. I haven't talked to him since he left.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we'll see him at the show, and then and kind of see what he's working on, or if he has any cool new stuff.
Yeah.
Because for obvious reasons, I really need to buy non-sport, and not as much on the sport side.
Yeah.
And I bought a decent chunk at Green Bay, but when you're getting, short print set year Dan Marino cards for 5 cents, I can't really pass that up. So
right.
It was the stuff that I was buying that it needed to happen. And I can leave Dan Marino cards sit around and not have to scan them right away and worry about losing money on it later. Unlike right now I gotta get all my Ivan Herrera cards up and all my Cal Raleigh cards up, and because I don't know how long those guys are gonna hold a market.
That is true.
What's going on over there?
I had to turn off heater in here. So one thing I found with the new lights I got for the new goat pen, it must be the same frequency as this little infrared heater I have.
Oh,
so when
it turns off with it.
If I'm pointing that way when I turn on the lights, it turns on the heater.
That's awesome. So now, so what you're saying is you have a remote for your heater now.
I do.
See, there you go. Yeah. Upgrade.
Yeah. All right. Tom Wadavi is with us. He's bringing the humor tonight. He says, "What did the farmer say when he lost his tractor?"
Ooh. What did the farmer say when he lost his tractor? I don't know.
Where's my tractor?
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. I'm glad I didn't come up I'm glad I didn't come up with something wild, and it was just that easy, that obvious.
Boom Slang is here. He says, "Yo,
Yo yo yo! I don't
the
think I
single
gave a yo
yo."
yo yo today.
You didn't. You
That's
didn't. You
like 2
jumped
weeks
right
in a
into
row now.
conversation.
We did. Well, we were a little later than our normal late, so yeah, that kind of influenced the quick start.
Tom says he scans Chrome and top loaders and works great. And you probably do. We've had a lot of people tell us that since we got the scanner. I know in my case, every time I got some examples from some folks and I went and looked at them, I just wasn't satisfied personally. We all have our own quirks, right? And for me, like, I just have not. I spent hours and hours on the settings. Everybody suggested on trying to scan Chrome cards, and in the end, I just didn't feel like it was what I wanted. So I've pretty much given up on it. Doesn't mean I won't take a run on it again sometime. Sounds like Adam now is sending it through, not because he thinks they're great, because he thinks it's not worth haggling about, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I had a $30 rookie card or something like that, no, I wouldn't do that. I would do a photo, but most of your Prism base is going to be $2, right? So I don't want to overcomplicate something that doesn't really value. There's no added money for doing a photo versus a scan on a card like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's ultimately what I think about when I do it, because I'm not a big like, oh, how much do you make per hour? I think that's stupid math, because there's other things to measure stuff by, but especially when you're growing, like, okay, yeah, but my income keeps going up, so it's getting more and more as I do it more and more. But anyway, I don't want to waste time in the, if it's not going to make me money either. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
But
the
you're right.
exception for me is I did think about checking out an overhead scanner, which Tom actually recommends here too. He says you can use an overhead scanner versus a feed scanner for Chrome, and I think that would do a better job. It just wasn't, for me, it wasn't the right move at the time to invest in a second scanner just for Chrome cards. So
I wouldn't do that.
yeah,
I won't do that just for Chrome cards. No.
right.
Because I still don't know that an overhead scanner would do well on shiny cards.
Yeah.
On like refractors and stuff. So what's the point? You're still going to have to do some photography.
Yeah.
I say just put the regular base, Chrome cards through the regular feed scanner, and just deal with it. It's good enough, to sell a $2 card. So
yeah.
Tom
continues here. He says, if you want to use the feed scanner, take the arm out. Yep, we're aware of that.
Yep.
Just use both sets of wheels with top-loaded cards. Works no problem. Yeah. So he's feeding them with. He's saying just use the sets of wheels with the top-loaded cards. Okay.
Yeah, I don't do anything top-loaded, but any Chrome cards that I've sent through, I haven't had any problems with. They come through just fine. No scratches, no, marks left anywhere, nothing like that. So
yeah.
If it would, I wouldn't do it.
Right. And he says he's doing 4.5 35 point at a time, and also using the 8170 also.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And he recommends setting your scan speed to normal/slow instead of fast. Now that might be an issue for you, Adam. That's one area we differ in. You scan at much higher speeds.
Yes, and I love it. Give me the speed. I haven't had any problems at the speed I scan, so I'm going to keep it the way it is.
Yeah,
but I
still do it at kind of a moderate speed.
But I scan at a slightly lower resolution than you do.
Yep,
that's the difference. Yep. That's the difference.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Boom Slang, he's confirming the card set you were talking about earlier was Conlon Collection.
Yep, correct.
says there's an actual Babe Ruth set that is like those as well.
Yeah, that's what it was from. It was one of the Babe Ruth cards from the Babe Ruth set.
Okay.
But anybody who knows what those are, it's like an all black card with this little white pinstripe inset. And I'm like, that is like the absolute worst card for a scanner to try to pick up. And it went right through perfect. It was right side up. The back came through just fine because the back is all black. And I was like, how the hell did this get through?
Yeah.
But it's not a shiny card or anything. And, I just, when I have my chunk of non-shiny stuff that I need to scan, I just throw it in there. Doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'll take a picture of it later. So it's always really nice when it does work because it's less work later on. And that's probably like, I'll probably ask $3.99 for that card. That'll have a $4 price tag on it. So, excuse me, it's not one where if it had the chopped sides, I would want to list it. I would want to run that back through.
Yeah,
$1.99 cards. I'm starting to not care as much about the image if it's not a vintage card or a
Sparkle Sports Cards is here. Good day from Australia.
Yay, from the Outback.
Yeah. That's not a knife.
I'm gonna shove my thumb right up this croc's ass. That's a different joke, but anyway.
Yeah. Boomstein says he just put a bunch of miscut cards and diamond cut cards in their store, but no sales so far.
Yeah, excuse me, you got to kind of find the right buyer for that stuff. But when you do, and I have a buyer who I'm a little spoiled this way. I have a regular buyer who, as soon as I list, and make sure you put miscut in the title, by the way. As soon as I list a miscut card, he pretty much scoops it up. So, and the more miscut, the better. I want the most deranged looking card you can possibly think of. Do you remember that a few months ago, that 1952 Topps Willie Mays card that was miscut and had a chunk of Mickey Mantle 1952 Topps in it?
Doesn't sound familiar.
Yeah, so somebody was smart enough to realize, hey, I think this is miscut, but I think the other piece of this card is the Mickey Mantle card, which obviously the 52 Mantle is a big one. Yeah. And got some pretty good money for it. I think it went for like $20-some thousand. And normally a poor shape, a two, let's say a PSA 2, just for argument's sake, quality 1952 Willie Mays card goes for what, like $300 or something,
Yeah.
But it went for 20G because it was miscut with a Mantle card on it. So I think what I see with something like this is it's people who are trying to do something creative in their collecting. Either they've collected all the stuff they've already wanted, that's kind of the normal type collections, or they just want to do something different. Yeah, I know collectors who only collect like draft busts,
Yeah.
guys that never made it. I know, we talked earlier about the people who only collect PSA 1s, just to try to be something different. And if you can find that buyer and you can get those products, because you should be able to get them cheaper because they're not the high quality stuff that most collectors are looking for, that can be a good little sales source. So I strongly look for miscut stuff because I know I have a buyer market for it. And I know you said, Charlie, well, I bought some miscut stuff and I never sell any of it. So it depends on the card. It kind of depends on who your customer base is a little bit. But yeah.
Yeah, especially like modern miscuts that I pull out of packs and stuff like that. A lot of times I'll list them as lots, and haven't had a lot of success moving them.
Yeah, and like I said, I sell quite a few. Whenever I find them, especially vintage, whenever I find them, I list them and then they're gone. So it's worked well for me.
Yeah. Okay. Sparkle tells us it's 10 a.m. there, or it was 10 a.m. About an hour and 20 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's well, it's 10, yeah, 10:30 here now. So PM, PM, not AM, PM.
Yeah. Snappy says, let me get this straight, Adam. You have 5 leaf blowers and half a card scanner. I understand the relative prices, but are you a full-time card dealer or a landscaper?
Yes. I probably this time of year I probably do more landscaping than card selling, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I should probably clarify this a little bit. I have a very, very big yard on a corner lot in a cul-de-sac. So basically there's 4 of us that are able to do leaf blowing at one time at my house. So generally we have somebody up in the front right corner of the yard doing that area, somebody over on the side where the hill is doing that area, and then the back is fenced, so you can't really just keep blowing from one side to the other. So you got to get 1 or 2 people in the backyard to blow those out. So that's why I have so many. And the little battery one was that was kind of like a kit. It's works. So I got like a trimmer and like a tiny hedge clipper thing and stuff like that, and this little leaf blower. So I didn't buy the leaf blower itself. It was part of that little like tool package with that battery. So, but that when you have a leaf blower running on a battery, it does not run very long. You get maybe 15 minutes out of it. So it's perfect. Like if I just go out on the deck and just, or the driveway, just that little bit just to clean something off. It's great for that. Then I don't have to get one of the bigger ones out, plug it in and do all that. It's comes in really handier than I thought it would. It actually works really well too if you have a super light snowfall. You can just leaf blow it off. You don't need a lot of power to blow a little bit of snow off. So that's more of like a cleaning tool for sidewalk and driveway and stuff versus the other ones. And then the mulcher ones, that's the biggest thing because I don't have leaf pickup. If I had leaf pickup, I wouldn't need the mulching leaf blowers, but I have like 40 some trees, in my 1 acre lot here. So there's a lot of leaves, come that time of year. So it's a good, and a lot of landscaping at my house. We have a lot of really nice landscaping. So when you get into the areas where it's like the nice plants and that, you want to suck the leaves out of there. You don't want to just keep blowing down all your good plants. So they all kind of serve their own purpose. And yeah, as far as the scanner goes, I don't need it all the time. It would sit idle quite a bit if I had it myself, because there's a lot of stuff you can't scan. Maybe I'm getting closer to if I start doing more Chrome stuff and that kind of thing, maybe it would start to make more sense. Also, we weren't quite sure, if we were going to get way into it, like if the scanner was really going to solve a lot of hassle for us. So we started out that way, and I'm fortunate that Charlie only lives, 15 minutes from my house, so it's not that hard to move it around. He can usually, I'll be out that way, I'll drop it off, or I'll say, I'm heading out to by you, I'll drop it off. So it hasn't been really much of a hassle to move it around either, I don't think. Charlie maybe feels differently. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think I have to say the same. I mean, honestly, there's times I have the scanner where I don't use it nearly as much as I expected to. So I would have it sitting at times too. And sometimes it's just because life is busy. Other times it's because, I have a hot set that I can't scan anyway, so.
Or CDP's not working.
Yeah. We didn't talk about that at all tonight.
I think we brought it up last week, and I think that's kind of, it's in a constant conversation at this point. I don't want to keep, pounding on it. I assume they want their surfaces to work. I don't think it's anything intentional. So we just have to, they have a good product when it works. So we have to kind of, keep going with that's what's going to happen. But,
Yeah.
yeah. My biggest frustration with it is I waste my scans and then they don't give you any scans back. I'm like, dude, you
Right.
can't, are you going to compensate? Like, what does it cost them to give us some more scans? Like nothing really. I'm not asking for my money back. I just want, dude, I tried to upload 4 batches and I had to cancel all of them because the software didn't work for it. Like that's my one complaint on the whole thing. Above and beyond that, it should work more often than it does
Yeah.
in current times.
So I think
But
I think we're going to see a short window of time here where they're trying to do some major developments that it is impacting. But I'm not concerned long term that stability of the platform.
me either.
Yeah.
Me either. Yeah. You summed it up way better than I did. That's basically all. I feel like they have a good product. They have, a few bumps and bruises right now. I mean, they're not Cellcom.
Yeah.
I mean, that entire cell phone company basically was shut down for, the last 2 weeks because they had some, it's just when you deal with tech stuff, you're gonna have things that pop up, and sometimes it's bigger than, what you can handle in a couple hours.
Yeah.
And you have to just got to kind of deal with it. So, I only did a little bit today and I had no problems. So, hopefully we're kind of back on track. They did address me when I asked them about it, and were very polite about it and said, yeah, it wasn't really on our end. It was on the end of whoever does the, like the AI searching portion of the program. They were having a problem. That's where it was getting stuck, whatever. So, yeah, I hope long term it's, it's not something that we consistently have issues with. I think, we've been using it for what, maybe a year and a half now, 2 years.
Yeah.
And I can say that probably a good 90% of the time we've had really good success using it.
Yeah.
So it's just, they're a newer company. It's a newer type of service and product. And so I think they're just hitting some of those growing pains where some of the tech isn't playing that well with each other at the current time. So
Yeah.
I say hang in there. I still think it's the best product as far as scanning and listing cards. I like the banner edition. I like, how quick and easy it is. I actually noticed the last batches I scanned, I did one last night and I did one this morning. I found better matches. I feel like the matching worked better.
Okay.
So maybe, wherever they get their software from, or whoever they're using for the card identifying stuff, while it was causing problems to the CDP software, maybe it was because they were making some improvements on their side.
Yeah.
Because normally I have to go through, especially if you have like parallels and stuff like that, I have to go through and fix quite a bit of that. And as I recall, the 2 batches I did, I was like, wow, I didn't really have most of it hit right on. Garbage Pail Kids, most frustrating thing. It's funny because somebody else agreed with me, but there's an A and B, so there's two versions of each image in a set, and it gets the wrong one every single time. I'm like, how's that even possible? Even if you guess, you should do better than that. Now the last batch of Garbage Pail Kids that I did yesterday, it came out a lot better. There were definitely ones that were wrong. I'm not by any means telling you, hey, it's perfect now, go use it. But it did seem like it was a smaller percentage than it had been in the past.
Okay.
For those particular cards. So I don't know, as the technology moves forward, like I said, you got to be patient with it, somewhat. And hey, scannings. I think the biggest thing that's helped me with this is the Discord, because somebody's on there like, hey, I just tried to upload and it's not working. Then I go, well, I'm not uploading right now. I'll go do something else because I don't want to waste my scans or my time. So I think that's where we can really help each other out with that is, make sure we're jumping on the Discord and saying, "Hey, I scanned in and everything worked fine today," so that
Right.
so that we all stay on the same page. If they're not going to do anything for us, then let's make sure we all cooperate with it and help each other so that we're using it at the times when everything is functioning well.
Yep, I agree. Joe Zacolas here. He says, "What up, boys?
What's up?
What's up?"
True.
Let me jump ahead on this one. Well done on the show, says Sparkle Sports Cards. Thank you.
Thank you.
And reminds us there's a new Pokemon release on Friday. So what do we got coming out? I'm not even sure.
Yeah, I did hear that. I don't remember what the set was called now. I just talked about it today too, and I don't remember what it is. That's what happens when I'm not so into something. But yeah, there's a release on Friday. I think it's a pretty highly anticipated one, so see how I'm sure it'll sell out right away and all that good stuff. But it just doesn't impact too much what I do because I don't do a lot of the Pokemon. I bought a few of I was fortunate enough when Journey Beyond or whatever this last set was that came out. I don't remember what it's called, Journey something. And I happened to be in Walmart, on the day it came out, and I was able to score a few packs. So I was kind of excited about that. I got it for retail. I listed them, and they just didn't really do that much. So I'm like, okay. A couple of the foil, I made a little bit of money on them, but it wasn't like super gangbusters or anything. And I pulled a pretty rare variation foil, or I don't know what they call it exactly, but it was, that was basically the equivalent of it. And, that one sold right away, of course, but everything else was like kind of sad. So I don't know.
Yeah, for me, I dabbled in it a little bit early on, and I was like, this is a whole new library I have to learn. And I had my hands full with the sports I was already doing and trying to get a feel for some non-sports stuff that you were teaching me about. And I was like, I think right now I'm too far behind in that, and I had to let it go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
and what I see, I like to buy like the bulk and stuff like that. What I see all the time is all the like super common Pokemon.
yeah.
And it's so highly printed. They print so much of it because they can. Why not? It's really for a game more than anything else.
Right.
And I'm like, man, I just don't want like a bunch of boxes of that. I don't want to have to try to move more of that type of stuff. So I'd really want to buy like foils and hollow foils and those, reverse hollows and all that kind of stuff. I'd really want to buy bigger lots of that. And I don't know. It seems like it's harder to find good deals on that, especially right now.
Yeah. Boomslang says, this goes back to your comment about the Green Bay show having a lot of non-card related stuff. I think he says he sees a lot of 3D printing stuff at shows.
Yeah, we saw some of that there. It's ironic you bring that up because I was just joking about this the other day because we went to a little local Ren fair. For those of you who don't know what a Ren fair is, it's kind of like medieval times type experiences. So people dress in, that type of period clothing, and usually have someone out there who's doing sword stuff and, some old medieval dancing type things, and a guy walking around chewing on a turkey leg, and it's kind of a period experience. We went to this local one, and there was an entire because there's always a vendor area at shows like that. There was an entire booth of like all 3D printed stuff, 3D printed frogs and spiders and dragons, and so the creatures kind of fit the popularity in that time frame, but of course 3D printing doesn't fit. And so I was like, really, they let a 3D printer in here? And it was the busiest booth in the whole place. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's overdone. I think everybody's printing all these little character things out of plastic, and I don't know how much future there is in that, but it's cheap to do. It doesn't really take any artistic talent. You download a file. For those of you who don't know 3D printing, it's an X and a Y, right? So you have your y-axis here, your x-axis here, and then the program tells the extruder where to print on those axes. Axes? Axes? I don't know.
Axes.
Axes? Okay. And you end up with whatever the object is that the program told it to do. So, I guess you can write your own programs. If you're doing that, it's like a CAD almost more than anything. And then, it extrudes the plastic, prints it out, and then you clean it up and you're good to go. But, like some of these, the little frogs, they were charging like $10 for them. I'm like, dude, that's like 5 cents in plastic. And, and probably a couple hours to print. So that stuff uses a ton of electricity, but really you don't do anything with it. You just hit print and walk away for an hour or whatever till it's done. So I don't know. And when 3D printers came out, I was into like building a lot of props and costumes and stuff and droids and robots and stuff. And somebody was like, I'm surprised you don't have a 3D printer. And I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't seem that fun to me. Like it's computer programming. I don't want to do that. And then you end up with some plastic thing that you got to clean up, especially when 3D printing first came out, because it was so rough. You saw lines on everything, and then you had to kind of bathe it in like the acid wash stuff and then sand it. And it was like, I was like, man, that's a lot of finish work, for a plastic. I don't want a plastic frog. What the hell am I going to do with that? Didn't have a lot of applications at the time. They've gotten much better. You have like the resin printers now, and Elegoo Mars. If you're not familiar with them, they make some pretty amazing printers. You can get the big size ones now, like the size of a big desk. So you can print a lot bigger parts. But yeah, I mean, I have a couple friends who have like printer rooms. So they have like 20 some printers, and they're in a room with just like printers lined up everywhere. And they run them 24 hours a day and just print stuff. So, there's some money in it. It's mostly idle, once you program it to print, as long as the print doesn't go bad on you and get off track. There's a lot of maintenance to the machines. You have to really keep them clean and make sure the extruders, are clean. You got to always have enough roll of filament and stuff. But, once you get good at it and you just keep running them 24 hours a day, you can just make thousands of little frogs, at $10 a pop, I guess, if that's a business model. So, but yeah, I didn't see a ton of 3D printing at this show, but it was a lot of little like Pokemon crafty stuff. I saw like pencil toppers and stickers and, little like holders for cards and art. I don't know. What are some of the things you saw, Charlie, that was not cards?
Mostly the artwork, like Pokemon artwork.
Yeah. The diamond paintings, where you take the little stones and you kind of, saw a bunch of different stuff of that. There was some 3D printed stuff. I did see a little bit of it, but it hasn't really taken over like it has at some events.
Right. Sparkle says, "Yay, Star Wars!" You know what though, Sparkle? We're gonna have to make you wait again because we're getting late here with the show, so we're not gonna be able to run through it tonight. Have you got? Maybe he meant a lot of Sapphire cards for sale. I'm assuming Star Wars. I've got a few.
Yeah.
I picked up a few more last weekend at the Green Bay show. Some red and some blue Sapphire.
I actually have 0 Star Wars Sapphire, and I don't know why. So that's it was funny because when I saw you come back with some, Charlie, I was like, yeah, I gotta go get a nice big lot of Star Wars Sapphire. So that's on my list of. I always kind of keep a running list of things that I want to get, that I don't have or has sold well in the past or I'm running out of. When I get inspired and I want to put some money back into the business, I kind of go down that list and go, let's go see if I can find some lots of this or, whatever. And that's kind of how I buy. And it's worked really well for me. And Sapphire definitely needs to go on that list. I don't know why it's never been on there, but it has.
Yeah.
I think just because I get so much Star Wars, it didn't feel like, well, I need some Star Wars. You know what I mean? So it was just like another Star Wars product. So, but I do like it now that I've seen, you know, a good chunk of them in person and stuff. They're super nice. So
Yeah.
definitely need some of those for the store. And those you cannot scan.
No, you cannot.
No. They're basically cracked ice, is what they are. Cracked
Yeah.
ice Star Wars cards.
Boomslang says, "Wow, you still trust the hobby?" I do, for the most part.
Sure.
You know, true hobby. I think there's still a sense of camaraderie and all of us in it together. Are there bad actors? Sure, there are bad actors in everything. Yeah. We're not talking about stage acting, Adam.
Oh,
But I do. I mean, listen, what was the risk I threw out there, right? Someone
Mhm.
was going to, you know, get a steal off of some 2019 commons of players you couldn't even tell me who played for anymore. You know,
right. Right.
there's not much risk there, right? I wanted to move some product out of boxes, so I got room to go through some more stuff. And I wanted it to go to people that wanted it versus throwing it in the fire up north or something. I know it's a bad thing to talk about. I do not do that, but that's what some people do. I'm out there
Yeah.
trying to move it instead. And if they want to give me a little bit for it, I'll take it, right?
You know, we've been setting up at this show for a long time. A lot of the buyers know who we are. We know who they are. It's a very trustworthy crowd that comes through there regularly. So I feel
Yeah.
like if you were doing, you know, the first show you've ever done in Detroit, would you do that? You know, and not to pick on Detroit, but you know,
Yeah.
if it's a place you're not familiar with, and you know, maybe that's not the way you'd want to do it. But we're pretty comfortable where we are. So
Yeah, for sure. Let's see here. Oh, Sparkle's just clarifying. If you got any blue sapphire cards for sale, you bet.
there you go.
You bet. I can get you some blue sapphire. Picked up a beautiful Princess Leia.
Yeah,
blue
that's the one.
sapphire.
That one was my favorite, where it's the real
Yeah.
close up of her, and she's got her
Yes.
buns in and everything. Yeah, it's a nice card.
Got to get the buns in there. Yeah.
Yep.
Dan says, "Hey, all sorry late. Trying to get packed to do some glamping tomorrow. Glamping.
Ooh.
Look at that.
Glamour camping, huh? So you got like one of those fancy campers with indoor showers and all that stuff. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Boomslang says I need to bring back the penny arcade cards. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That might be a market I could find a niche in.
I would love to see more non-sport cards coming out. I felt like we
Yeah.
had a little run in the 2000s and stuff. You know, Cryptozoic and some of those brands, Inkworks and
Mm-hmm.
what's the comic one? Comic
Images.
Comic Images. You know, they brought out some really cool stuff, and it's like now it's totally dead, which makes no sense because cards are good. You know, hot right now. Maybe licensing is tougher nowadays.
Yeah.
For some of that, I don't know, but I would love cards of just about any pop culture type of thing outside. I mean, they still make Star Wars and you know those kinds of things, but there's lots of other good properties out there that would be really cool to see some stuff of.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The new Ghostbusters movies, I would love to have cards of those. I don't know. I just feel like there's a lot left on the table on that side of things. Music cards, you know. I love Harry Houdini cards. I buy any Harry Houdini card that I find, you know, stuff like that. And Alan and Ginter touches on some of that, and um, Sport Kings does a little bit of that. You know, there's a couple of like little things here and there. I think Leaf does like Pop Century and stuff like that. So I know there's some stuff out there, but I don't feel like there's any like really cool, big quality, complete type sets on focused on certain pop culture things. I know it was a little off topic, but that was my thoughts. So they come out my mouth.
John Pancoast is here. He says he follows your eBay store and used the sold filter daily and noticed your sales have dipped the last few weeks. We all know there are a handful of reasons. Question is, What do you do to offset this dip?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We talked about that at the beginning of the show that this is my worst time of the year for sales. It's mainly because of the hockey and basketball influence in the hobby right now, and I don't do a ton of those. Um, so that's probably the biggest part of it. I haven't been adding as much new stuff because I've been kind of maxed out on that store. Now I have a second store. I don't know if you know that the sales are way up on that store. I'm up 30 some percent from last month. So whatever I've dropped on one side, I'm actually doing much better this year than I did last year, even though the sales look the same on that store. I have a whole other store. And those sales have really picked up. So it's just kind of, you know, the focus has switched a little bit on where my bigger sales come this time of year. Pop culture stuff is usually pretty big right now because you have your bigger summer movies coming out. You know, you got trailers out. You got
What? Oh, did we lose Adam there? I hope his battery didn't die. That tends to happen sometimes. We didn't do a battery check. There he is. He's back. He's back.
yeah. I don't know what happened there. Oh, I'm down to 5%, so I can't use my outside camera. That's why.
Oh,
I have
okay.
like 4 cameras on this thing. I had to figure out which one I had to be on. Like, I feel like this time of year, it's going to be my switch to more non-sport than it is anything else. Just because I don't do a ton of basketball and I don't do a ton of hockey, and I don't know that I'm going to change that much.
Sure.
At least not on the current store size. I mean, if I have more, if I do a lot more listings and stuff, maybe, if I changed to an anchor store, that might be something that I would do. But I don't know. At this point in time, that's where it's at. So look at both stores, and you'll see the other store has a big gain. So you asked, well, what do you do when it dips like that? Well, you sell more
Pivot.
or less, huh? Yeah, you pivot. So I talked about this at the beginning of the show. You use that time to do some of the maintenance things and other stuff that kind of gets left behind when you're busy with sales. What's funny is I feel like the quantity of sales has gone up, but they've been smaller dollars. So I think that's part of it too.
Yeah.
And honestly, there might be some economic impact. There might be, who knows?
Yeah, that's true too. Johnny M joined us. He says, "Good evening. Forgot you guys were on tonight. Long day. You didn't get the notification?"
I forgot I was on too. So that's all. It's all good.
Sparkle opened some 2024 Donruss Clearly football yesterday and pulled a downtown Michael Vick.
Ooh, don't let the dog eat it.
Oh boy, we're past that. We're past
Too soon.
that, Adam. Too soon.
Okay.
Max is with us. He's been quiet tonight, but he says,
"Yeah, I didn't."
He's got a call back to an earlier conversation where he says, "I've never seen smart and Android in the same sentence."
Well, I'll say it again: smart and Android. They're an ISOP place.
I think Android over iPhone is a smart budget choice.
Ooh, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Johnny M says, "You guys sure are fancy with your picks. Mine are taken on a piece of cardboard, no cost involved." Yeah, that does work too. Yeah,
I did that for basically until yesterday. That's how I did it. I have a breakers mat that I shoot on because I like that. I like the material, kind of that spongy, like think of like a mouse pad, right? That's kind of what it's like. But it soaks all the light in to it, so it has no reflection to it at all. So when you put the card on it, it really pops off that background. So that's what I was using. I even thought about. I have like a whole bunch of breaker mats because I got a bunch of freebie ones at the National. I thought about cutting one out and putting it inside the photo box, the goat pen, and using that as my base instead of the black foam base.
Yeah.
So I might do that. I might do that yet too. We'll see. I think if I got a mouse pad, I think it would actually fit in there perfectly. as a mouse pad.
Yeah,
So,
and you
I
can
might
get
try that
different
first.
size mouse pads as well.
Right,
Like I've got kind of a different size one here that I use at this desk. It's a little bigger than most. Like that.
There you
That
go.
would be pretty good in there.
Yeah. So I thought, that way it would hold it really nice in place. It wouldn't slide around slide much. I really like that material. I think it takes all the light out entirely. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you got to do what works for you. I don't think there's it is somebody at home going, oh, this $1.99 card. I don't know. That guy's, photo is got a paper background and not a matte background. I shouldn't buy it. I don't think it's going to really change the buyer.
Yeah.
If you've got $5,000 cards, you probably want to invest in some pretty good, like, photography type stuff, lighting and things to get the right shots of the card. But if you're selling $2 cards, I think you can, however you do it is fine.
Yep. Agreed. Let's see here. Bargain Boxer series says a 52 Topps Willie Mays PSA 1 sells for over $2K.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I wasn't sure. I think I said, what did I say? 1,000?
I don't remember.
And yeah, this off-cut one with part of Mickey Mantle went for like 20 some thousand, I think. So you can look it up. I think it was a golden sale, golden auction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Boomslang says he got hit with the CDP issues of late. He lost about 500 scans so far. Yeah. Speak of the devil, there's a new version available message on mine. I'm looking at potentially losing quite a bit too. I'm at about half of my scans now, and it renews my subscription on the 4th. I don't think I'm gonna go through 500-600 scans in the next week. Although I could probably power some through, maybe this weekend or something, but because I do scan some things ahead of time, right? So I could just throw all those in there at once. So
yeah, might as well use them up.
Yeah. Adam was talking about LARPers with their sword play.
Well, that's the ones that like actually act out the characters.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Sports cards, Boomslang says sports cards are just artwork. Fair.
That's true.
That's accurate.
Is true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Max says your phone issues must be an Android.
I don't have any phone issues. I don't. My phone's working just fine.
And then he asks, aren't iPhones and Galaxies like the same price? I have no idea because I always buy the late model phones.
Yeah, I don't. I buy a folding phone, so it's probably more than the iPhone, to be honest with you, because it's got 3 screens essentially.
Yeah.
So mine is mine's a Samsung.
Samsung, okay.
But it is a Galaxy. It's Galaxy Fold.
All right. And we're at 11 Central here, so we reached our last chat of the night. Max says, scans that don't roll over are a huge reason why I never started a low-end sports business on eBay. This will be the first month that I have a significant amount that doesn't roll over. I mean, with different plans, you have the option to do different prepay amounts. You have the a la carte options. Like, I don't see why you would ever consistently be losing out on scans. I think this past month has been an exception because we're working with a partner who is making some substantial development gains, and that has not gone as smoothly as they had intended it to.
Yeah, and I've thought about decreasing my plan just because I don't list as much as I did, since I have so much on there. But then I feel like as soon as I do that, I'm going to need scans and I'll have to increase my plan. So, but like Charlie said, the plan I'm in, I've never really had a problem using all the scans. And if I do, then yeah, I will reduce the plan that I'm in. So yeah, you have to it's like anything that has a plan. You got to go, okay, well, do I need 25 streaming services, or do I just need these 10 streaming services? I got to turn the other ones off. Like, yeah, you have to really budget with it, and they need to do it that way as their business model so that they get reoccurring income, and it's easier for them for pricing and assigning the scans each month versus, okay, well, I need 1,000 scans for $10. Although you can do that too, like Charlie said, you can buy a la carte too.
Yeah.
So you can go, okay, well, I just want to do the $20 a month plan, and then on the months where I'm going to be scanning a lot more, I'll just buy a la carte for the extra scans. So there's a fair amount of flexibility.
Yeah.
But you're right; they don't roll over, so that is something you have to stay conscious of. You don't want to have a big chunk of those not roll over. When you're meeting on a regular basis.
I would say this: a great marketing opportunity for CDP or any of these. Chronazio or anyone you want to look at, having a rollover plan that's even a premium plan. Like, I would think that would get so many more people to say, hey, I'll go for the premium plan because then I'll never lose my scans and I'll pay twice as much to always have my scans.
That's the catch. What would it cost you to have that? Technically they could give you unlimited scans, but what do they have to charge you every month for that? In case you're scanning 50,000 cards, they got to price that, pretty high. To be honest with you, I kind of wish they would just go to a monthly, like, okay, it's $30 a month and you can scan as much as you want. Just be done with it, Just I don't know why they have to charge you like per scan. It doesn't seem like the service needs that kind of cost. And maybe they do it because they have to pay another company that's doing like the ID stuff work for them. I don't know. But it's kind of like, remember when cell phone companies used to charge you for minutes, Like, how annoying was that? And now it's like, well, I don't care. You can just call as much as you want. It's $80 a month for your phone, and you can have data and phone calls. Go have at it. And maybe that's something they'll get to. Right now, they still need to capitalize and get enough subscribers, and they're still chasing the money a little bit. So maybe that's what the point that they would get to is, okay, well, these are $50 a month, unlimited scans. Like, just do that, and that's it. Then we won't even care if we lose scans. Or it's not, a batch doesn't work or something like that. It wouldn't cost us anything.
Right.
You can just do another batch. Well, this month I do a lot of scans because my sales aren't as high. Okay, well, 2 months from now my sales really boom, so I don't need very many scans. But you just keep paying the same. I just like consistency, especially in business expenses.
Yeah. Agreed. All right. Well, it's 11:05, and I came in tonight saying 10:30 is my limit. I'm out of here at 10:30.
Same.
So we went over once again, like we always do.
That's okay. We had a lot of fun. You guys had a lot of questions. Thank you so much to everybody in the chat for participating.
Yeah.
The show doesn't go without you, so we appreciate it. For those of you watching recorded, try to catch us live every Wednesday, 8 o'clock Central Standard Time. Again, even those of you live here now, 8 Central Standard Time every Wednesday. Charlie and the Goats. I need to change it from Charlie and Stu to Charlie and the Goats. I think that's a better path because we have multiple goats.
Our corral is growing.
Our pen is getting full.
Yeah.
Check out Charlie's channel, JC3 Cards and Collectibles, here on Facebook, here on YouTube. Of course, subscribe, like, share the channel here at the Dollar Box, and the Discord's running along the bottom of the screen there. Try to jump on there. It's free. Get yourself in on the fun there. We sent you an invite code on the screen here, and we're always looking for new participants there as well.
Can't miss on the Discord.
Can't miss. But that's all I got for tonight. Anything else you want to add, Charlie?
Just remember, when you see the goat, we're talking about some of the greatest of all time.
And remember, you can't sell what you don't list. See y'all next week.